What is going on, everybody? Jorge Aquino coming to you live and direct. This is Tormenting Tarmac. It's the podcast where the enthusiast never dies. Hope everybody's having a fantastic day. Please excuse the thumb if you're watching on YouTube. I was moving over my camera so that way you could see me a little bit better. Date of recording happens to be October the 2nd. This is going to be out in a few weeks time, so please forgive the delay in time there for whatever we may be discussing this evening. But either way, I'm very excited. I actually haven't recorded a podcast in about 2 to 3 weeks, just because we have 6 weeks, 6 weeks worth of episodes in the bank, if you can believe it. But it was
Oh,
time to
so
go
this is
ahead and
during next year.
yeah, at this point, it will be airing in the year of our Lord 2027. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm really excited to go ahead and introduce our guest this evening. I think he's very well known throughout the greater part of Los Angeles, in particular the car culture scene, for everything he's doing over at Newcomb's Ranch and with the Good Vibes Breakfast Club. And of course, he is the founder and host of the Late Night Playset. Ladies and gentlemen, that is Jay Ryan calling in via
Oh,
Zoom from Los Angeles, California. My friend, how are you this evening? It is
thank
an
you very
absolute
much for
pleasure.
having me, Jorge. I really,
Dude,
really appreciate it.
it's of course
And
my
working with my
pleasure.
schedule. I know we've been trying to do this for a while, but I really
Oh, dude,
appreciate it. Thanks
I'm
for your
happy to do
patience.
it. No, it's all good. It worked itself out. I just logged off from work. I was working from home today on a lovely Thursday afternoon, and I was like,
Yeah, me too.
yeah, had a little bit of baseball watching going on because the playoffs just started. The wild card is around us here. Everybody's probably just. I'm going to put it out there right now. I'm rooting for the Yankees this evening. Go Yanks! Hopefully they beat the Red Sox. That's the plan. It's game 3 of the wild card. We'll see what happens. I'm praying to the good Lord that we can just pull it out. I'm just
I'm
that's
from
all I want.
Connecticut. I'm not a sports fan, but I'm from Connecticut, so I'm right in between those two teams.
Okay. No sports at all. Not really a vibe.
Nope.
Okay, cool. So now I had the distinct pleasure. I'm going somewhere with this for 1 second, so bear with me. I had the distinct pleasure of actually listening to your great episode that you did. We just talked about it literally before we went live. You did a wonderful episode with the Peterson folks. Shout out to Dan
Oh, yeah.
Pilling and of course B doing an incredible job with the revamp of the podcast for the Peterson car stories and everything like that. And you had the opportunity and the pleasure to just do an episode with them as of time of recording about a couple weeks ago is when it dropped. And
Yep.
um, Jay, I told Dan, same thing. I thought you were incredible. I thought it was a great conversation.
Oh,
And people need to go check out that episode because you guys had a lot to talk about. But you mentioned the fact that you're an East Coast kid. You grew up in Connecticut. You and I are both movie lovers, and I really want to get into that a little bit in this conversation this evening.
please. Yes.
But
Anything.
we know you were growing up in the 80s and stuff like that. You are a child of the 80s. So along
Yeah.
with movies
I
and
mean,
not
look at
being
my shirt, man.
yeah,
I'm
shout
wearing
out
the
to the Goonies.
Goonies.
I'm a Ferris Bueller guy. So I'm a
Oh, I
Ferris
love
Bueller
Ferris.
guy.
Sure.
Shout out to John Hughes, one of the greatest of all time, and everything. So when you were growing up in Connecticut, up in the '80s, being a fan of basically the great teenage years in terms of movies and whatnot, what if you weren't a sports fan? What were you a fan of on top of movies and on top of cars? Like what was Jay Ryan doing in Connecticut in the '80s?
You need to ask that question?
Shout out to the GOAT,
I
David
was
Letterman.
obsessed with late night talk shows. Late night talk shows were my sport of choice.
That's awesome. That
I
is
grew up in
awesome.
the same town where David Letterman lived when he used to do this show. So,
Yeah.
yeah, we would see him around. He would jog at my high school track, and obviously, I had enough interactions with him. Hopefully, we won't talk about today. But yeah, I think that was probably what I was into. I definitely watched movies. I definitely checked out cars.
Yeah.
I'm a product of television. I was the generation that was raised by the box, so I watched a lot of television.
Right.
Um, my parents were divorced and they both worked, so and I'm an only child, so I really spent a lot of time with television. And and the David Letterman connection and being just outside New York City where 30 Rock was, where they did Letterman and Saturday Night Live and Donahue back in the day, but
Right.
so many shows since it got under my skin.
I love that.
I
I
mean,
was
otherwise this wouldn't exist.
no, exactly. Well, I'm a child of the 90s, right? And I have
Mhm.
so much love and respect and admiration for the entertainment world of the 80s. I kind of wish I was born a few years before I was actually born just to kind of more experience the
Yeah,
80s
me
and
too.
actually be
That's
a
fun.
part of it. right?
Uh-huh.
But I'm curious to see because like I had
That must be every generation, by the way, because I have the same thing, but like for the 70s,
oh, for the
like
70s? Yeah,
maybe
it
even
might
the
be.
60s. Yeah,
It might be for any 2000s kids who wanted to be born in the 90s or alive in the 90s. You're welcome. Hey, the 90s kids, we got it going on. I'm not going to lie to you.
for sure.
Shout out to any Gen Xers and millennials that are listening to tonight's podcast. We're in the building. We run this shit now. Let's go.
I'm probably more a kid of the 90s, right? Because like I was in high
Sure.
school in the 90s. I graduated in the 90s.
Well, it's so funny that you say that because I guess I would consider myself a child of or a teenager of the early to mid 2000s because I graduated high school in 2008. And so I was in middle school in the very early 2000s. I was 11 years old when 9/11 happened. I was actually, this is a really cool story that I always tell people when I can. July of 2008, The Dark Knight came out in movie theaters 2 months after I graduated high school. I hadn't seen a few of my friends in a hot minute. I went to the midnight premiere of The Dark Knight with a few friends of mine, and then I saw kids that I hadn't seen in a month and a half. And we're all getting ready to go ahead and start college, or they're going away to college. And so that was kind of like our last like get together, if you will, of like, hey, what's up, dude? Are you getting ready to go to college and blah, blah, blah. And here we are about to do this, like about to watch this monumental generational movie all together at midnight and whatnot. Like that was the early the 2000s peeps like ourselves and whatnot. We because they don't do I know they do midnight releases, but it's not quite the same. It's not even midnight releases anymore. Movies are releasing a full day prior now, Jay.
Yeah,
It's
I
really
don't think
weird how
anything is
they.
the same as it used to be.
It's very
I think
odd.
that's across the board. Yeah.
Yeah, it's changed, but that was a really interesting and a great memory that I still have to this day. I went to go see Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull the day of my actual high school graduation. I went to watch it at noon and then went back to school to graduate like 5 hours later. That was a great
Amazing.
day. It was awesome. But you were talking about like you grew up in the golden age of late night television.
Oh yeah.
David Letterman is your guy, but then you also had Jay Leno on Late Night Playset a couple years back and everything
Mhm.
and whatnot. And you probably would have seen the rise of Conan, and you would have gone ahead and seen the rise of, well, not
Buddy,
the rise, but
I don't
just
know
like
if you know this. My first job in the world was working for Conan at 30.
isn't
I was
okay.
senior in high school, and that's what I was doing.
That's
I was an
insane,
intern and a
actually.
production assistant.
Can we talk about that for 1 second? Because like I think
Sure.
Conan O'Brien, from a talent perspective, and I mean this with all sincerity to everybody that's still doing it now, even the Letterman, the Leno, Conan may be the funniest guy of them all. Is that fair to
This
say?
generation definitely agrees with that, I think.
Conan was special. Conan was special because I remember watching Late Night with Conan O'Brien after Leno would end, and then I'd be like, "Dear God, Conan is freaking hysterical."
What
And
years are we talking about now?
I would have been watching personally early to mid 2000s, right before he went to go ahead and supposedly take over the Tonight Show, and then he
Yeah.
released, obviously. So my time frame would have been like 2000 to like let's call it 2008, right around there. That 5 year stretch. That's
Yep.
when I
So
would
you
watch.
saw his tail end of the late night career.
That's
So I
correct.
started. I was well. We just told you I graduated in '95. So '94. Conan's first show was September 13th, 93. So he was only on the air for a couple months, and then it was 1994. I was an intern there and a production assistant starting in 1994. So I was there in the beginning when the show was quote unquote not good. And they talk on Conan's podcast a lot about how they were getting picked up with very short intervals. 1 month, 6 weeks, whatever. I remember when it was week to week. I remember. I was a nobody. I was a little kid who shouldn't have even been in the building at my age. But I'm working with these old guys who would like sneak cigarettes in the stairwells and stuff because they were used to when you could smoke, all day long. Talk about how this show wasn't going anywhere and it wasn't going to make it and it wasn't Letterman and everything Conan was hearing outside the building. His own crew was saying it in the building. So it was a much different Conan. I mean, Andy was still there. It was before Andy came back. It was a much different show than you're talking about, but obviously the potential was there because he trucked through and then persevered and became the Conan that you fell in love with.
100%. And I mean, the hair is iconic still to this day. Everybody talks about Jay's chin, but let's be real. Conan's hair is like the greatest thing ever in late night history. I'm not going to lie. he is so unbelievably talented, and obviously that, Conan officially retired from late night. Now he gets to do whatever the hell he pleases. He's living his best life, except um I don't know, with like not as like distanced as Dave, for example, because Dave's got this enormous beard and he comes out and decides to pop out whenever he so pleases. Where Conan is still just, he's doing the podcast. He's still got other shows going on, like on HBO Max and stuff like that. But he's still he almost has the liberty and independence that a lot of these late night hosts almost seek, because even though they can get away with a lot of the things that they say on late night, they still have to answer to, shout out to Jimmy Kimmel, who was able to go ahead and come back after a week suspension or a few days suspension and whatnot. But they still have, the boardroom to answer to, and things of that nature. Conan doesn't have to do that anymore. And that must be something that they all strive for these days, right?
Yeah, I think Letterman, well, Carson maybe started the mold first, because Carson was the first one during the contract negotiation to own his show.
Yeah.
Took it away from NBC Productions, or at least partially. And then Letterman used that same model when he switched to CBS. So Letterman has always been worldwide pants. So like whenever there was a writer's strike or something where everyone else was forced off the air, Letterman was able to make his own deals and get his people back and get the show back on the air because he was autonomous. He as a group,
right,
one man, yes, but I mean the organization,
of course.
And so yes, I think what you're saying is true, but I don't know that Conan's the first one to do it. I think he may be just doing the modern interpretation of it, because I love that he hasn't gone away. I was very happy when Dave came out with the Netflix show and his YouTube channel and all the other things he does, but it's not the same as Conan is working. He is working. He's still doing the HBO Conan Without Borders. He's doing tons of podcasts on Team Coco, and he seems to participate in most of them, at least in some form. I'm sure he oversees all of them. Conan just strikes me as a worker. He just really wants to work. And I think that brain of his, you probably just can't shut it off. Whatever you fell in love with, that incredible mechanism that is his brain, very expensive education from Harvard, by the way. Yeah. I think that you're right. He's probably just working, and I don't think he'll go away ever, which is cool. I agree.
No, I don't want him to go away.
Especially for fans of his show, when Letterman was on for 30 years on one show, 33 years really. Yeah. And Conan was on for a long time, but not that long, and it was always kind of here or there or here or there. I feel like now he's writing his own ticket, and I'm far be it for me to say proud, but I'm proud of him. I was there in the beginning. I don't even know if he would remember me. If I told him a few things, I think he probably would. But I'm proud of him. I was proud of him when he persevered throughout the Tonight Show debacle, and when he got the deal on Conan at TBS. My wife she's passed away now, of course, from multiple sclerosis, but she was a entertainment publicist, so she would have, and she did personal PR for like high-level celebrities and mainly comedians. So I don't know how many times we were over to Warner Brothers at the new Conan studio. Still new to me. It's been off the air for 5 years, but it's still new to me. And when I walked in the first time, I go, holy shit, like you did it. A lot of the crew people were people I still knew from New York in the old days, bookers and the stage manager and stuff. And I was like, you did it. You guys did it. You stuck with the guy. You believed in him. Unions be damned and whatever. And you moved out with your family to Los Angeles, and he did it. And I'm always really impressed with him, even though he's not my favorite comedian of all time. As a human going through struggle and persevering, he's a role model.
He is. He's just a special individual, and I think he continues to set a particular standard more so now than he even did previous and whatnot. After leaving the show, and I was just recently watching a clip of when he returned to the Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon for the first time since he had left NBC, which was a really, really big deal.
So for other people who don't know, that show is directly across the hall from his old studio where I used to work.
Which is wild in and of itself, right? Like that's kind of and that's so rad. But to go ahead and to see that and to
he was there for 17 18 years in that studio,
which is awesome. But he beat the system, basically. Not that there was ever a system against him, but there were times that, as the way that you just said it, how they were going ahead and booking his show only by periodically. It's like, and we're extending you by only by a few weeks. I always, you kind of see that, and it's like, I always wondered, like, why were they, at least I felt this way, like, why was the system, why was the channel, why were this, the networks so against this guy and whatnot, almost, because it almost played itself out like that. And I never liked it,
I
but
I think
I
I
don't
can
know.
answer that for you. I think you
Please.
are not quite old enough to get that Conan was ahead of his time. Conan had to
That's probably
mature
true.
into what everyone else now loves.
Yeah,
I mean, if you watch those early shows, I wouldn't say they're bad. They're not. They're not. They're just very interesting. It's like each one's an experiment because they didn't
sure.
know all they wanted to do was not be like Letterman because that was everyone was going to compare them to Letterman. So they wanted to do everything that wasn't like Letterman. Obviously, it was still a desk and chairs and skyline and comedy bits and desk pieces and outfits and characters. They did all the same type of stuff, but they did it in such a different, unique way. Smigel was a big part of that, Robert Smigel. And I don't know if he was still, I think he was long gone by the time you started watching, but in the beginning, they would do all these, they would have a TV come down from the ceiling on a fly bar and they would lower it down. And there would be all these characters on the TV, like Bill Clinton or whomever it was. And Robert Smigel was the mouth for every single one of them.
I remember that
And
bit.
obviously,
I remember
Triumph,
that
he
bit.
became Triumph that you all know.
Yeah.
I remember the day they built the puppet studio, the little tiny puppet theater for the original Triumph dog.
Yeah.
I feel like they were trying so much to be different than Dave that it was just very experimental. It felt like alt comedy, what we now know as
Alternative.
alt.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's weird that you say that because me being I've mentioned this on the podcast a few different times, but I'm a big professional wrestling fan, right? So
Don't get me started.
oh, dude. So I'm a big fan of the WWE, even though they've made some choices throughout the years that I'm just like, I'm not sure I agree with it, but that's nor here nor there. But like, for example, All Elite Wrestling, which is now on the Turner networks and whatnot, the Khans, the Shahid Khan and Tony Khan in particular, they own the Jacksonville Jaguars and they own another team out in a soccer team in the Premier League and whatnot. So they're a huge family, a billionaire family. And so Tony, his son, runs and is the president and founder of this professional wrestling company called All Elite Wrestling. And so when they came back, they said to themselves, we don't want to be like WWE. We want to be the alternative in professional wrestling and whatnot.
Mm.
So they've gotten a chance to kind of re-experiment, kind of pick up where World Championship Wrestling, WCW, left off in 2001 and be different to what the World Wrestling Entertainment, founded by Vince McMahon and now owned by TKO Group and whatnot.
It was WWF when I was a kid.
It was the
And I was in
WWF, the World
Connecticut when
Wrestling
they were
Federation.
doing all that stuff.
Oh, that's right. Stanford is where the headquarters are located. I forget
And
about
my
that.
dad used to work in the same research industrial park, and he did some similar work and did some work for WWE, some print work.
That's so
So,
cool.
but
What a small
the only
world.
reason I
Dude.
said I don't like wrestling at all, I don't know anything about it. I know the guys from my, Hulk Hogan just passed away.
Of course, yeah.
But a very, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Not at all. Please. No.
But
You're all good.
a very concrete memory that I have as a kid is my dad telling me constantly that he used to be friends with a guy named Lou Albano. And he used to go out on his boat. Lou would come out on my dad's boat all the time. And they were just they were friends growing up. I don't even know how they met or whatever. Lou became Captain Lou Albano, who was one of the big WWF wrestlers in the 80s on the Hulk Hogan team or whatever. So he was a good guy.
Right.
And one night, my dad told me we were going to my favorite restaurant, which we went to all the time. It was a place he would go all the time, but it was a place called Victoria Station. It was made out of like train cars. So it was really cool for a kid to go and just check out all this stuff. But we were going there, and I thought, great, I'm going to get my usual stuff. I'll get the prime rib, and I'll get the chocolate mousse for dessert. And I was all excited. The moment we walked in, the bar area was like just as big as the restaurant almost, and it had tons of couches, and it was like a waiting area for a train station. And the moment we get in the door, and we're by the hostess little stand, I hear, "Hey, Rich!" My dad's name was Rich. Rich! And there's a guy, and then there's a whole group of people, and they're calling him over, and I'm like, what's going on over there? It was Captain Lou, it was Hulk Hogan, it was Cyndi Lauper, it was the Iron Sheik, there were like 5 or 6 wrestlers from WWF that Captain Lou had brought over because my dad was bringing me over, and we hung out for the entire evening with these. At the time, they were huge,
Larger than
huge
life
stars. Wrestling
100%.
was huge in the 80s.
Yep.
And as a kid, I think I liked it because all my friends did, and there was a Saturday morning cartoon with
Yep.
the wrestlers and all those guys. So like to me, it's a visceral memory I'll never ever forget. But the truth is, I was never ever really into wrestling. But
Sure.
Cyndi Lauper, shout out to Cyndi Lauper, who also sang the Goonies theme song.
Oh, that's so, and there's always a connection somehow, some way there and whatnot. And I want to get back to the 80s really quickly, but
Yeah, I'm sorry, I cut you off.
no. It's okay because there's something that I want to bring up actually, because you brought this up and I want to piggyback off of it because I can't go further in this conversation without you and I. This is one of the first times that we actually meet officially. We've chatted on the podcast and whatnot, and we actually have mutual friends in the space, obviously. Shout out to Johnny Lieberman, friend of yours and friend of the
Oh,
Late
sure.
Night Saint to Late Night Playset, just in the same way he is to TT. Zach Clapman, of course. I've had the honor.
Oh, love Zach. Yeah.
Yeah, Zach's the man. We had him actually within a couple of days of one another, but your podcast went live first because I had like 18 episodes in the can.
Well, and we do ours live.
Exactly. And so big shout out to Zach because he's almost become like a big brother to me in the space now. Like he's just a great dude. He has been so kind to me over the last few couple of years that I've been doing this podcast within the automotive spectrum, and he's always been down to go ahead and come on and everything like that. But
I want to get to your point about the 80s, but since we're gushing about Zach,
yes.
A year ago when my wife was here and dying in hospice care, Zach and his now wife, Sarah. Spent the night on the floor because they didn't want to leave me.
And that just goes to show the type of character that Zachary Clapman and his wife are and whatnot. And actually,
and shout out to Lynn Woodward, who was here as well, did the same thing. I'll never forget that for the rest of my life.
Yeah. I've never met Lynn, but I do know my friend Lindsay Jesh, who is very close with Lynn Woodward, of course.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
Yeah.
Lindsay's engaged to one of my best friends, Tori.
Oh yeah, shout out to Tori. If Lindsay listens to this, shout out to Troy. I went on Lindsay's show. Shout out to Lindsay. I did, yeah. Shout out to Lindsay and shout out to Ryan Barkey and Dan Pilling of That Car Show and everything. I was on there.
Tori was the first guest we ever had on Life with the Ryan.
Oh no shit! Is that true?
A dining room table, and I thought my eyesight is bad or something. I always thought his name was Tony. So when he arrived at the door, I was like, "Hey, Tony, what's going on?" He's like, "It's Tori, actually." I'm like, oh, whoops. So we both done it.
I love it. No, I was on their podcast a couple months ago and everything. We were talking about Corvettes ZR1, and I congratulated Lindsay on her engagement to Tori and whatnot, but I called him Troy on accident. And she never corrected me, and she corrected me then after I hopped off the podcast, and I felt like shit. So again, shout out to
Lindsay. How gracious of her not to do it on the air. I'm still learning that grace.
Sweet gal. She is a very sweet person and whatnot, and I love all three of them. They are my friends in the podcasting space, and I love them. And I think I'm putting you on the spot right now, but I think that Jay, you need to go on that car show with Ryan and obviously with Dan and with Lindsay.
I'd love to. Yeah, I don't think they've ever invited me.
Well, I'm putting it on the spot right now because I know they're going to listen. So Ryan, Lindsay, Dan, Jay's invited via me to that car show. But I
will say this: when I was talking to Dan the other day, I said I wanted to have all of them on Late Night Playset. We'll do it satellite with all the different boxes like they do it.
Crazy.
I'll just be in the box and we'll do it here.
Hey, well, that's the thing. You've got the setup to go ahead and pull that off. But what I wanted to go ahead and discuss is I couldn't go any further without bringing up and paying my respects to you and Nicole. Because when Zach came on the second time last year, when we did the podcast together the second time, it was about a week. And I'm sorry to bring this up, but I want to pay my respects. I really do.
I appreciate it.
No worries, because she was rad. Like, because I've seen you guys' story for a long time. And we did a podcast, and we had brought you guys up because you guys were doing the collaboration with Sheffield, who is a former partner.
Oh yeah, the watches. Yes,
of course.
Jay,
and I love Jay. Shout out to Jay and all of Sheffield and everything like that. And so we did the podcast about a week and a half before she passed. And so a couple weeks later is when I released my episode with Zach, and I decided, and I told Zach, and I was like, hey man, I got nothing but love for the Ryans. I want to go ahead and dedicate this episode to you guys and everything. And you were kind enough to go ahead and share that, which you didn't have to, but I felt that because I've followed you guys as your entire story for the last few years. You know, I saw you and Nicole go on with Matt and Zach on the podcast, and I saw the progression. And I follow you on social media, and I've seen and I've tried to follow up with everything, and I know a lot of things that were going on. But she seemed, and I'm sad that I never got a chance to meet her and whatnot. And may she rest in peace. But she seemed, and I know you're going to talk glowingly about her, but from the perspective from where I'm at, Jay, she seemed like a sweet, sweet woman. And I am so sorry for your loss, but at the same time, I know that she lived her life, from what I could tell, to the absolute fullest. So
Yeah,
my utmost respect to you, my friend.
very, very kind of you to do that and say all of that. I appreciate it. She was an amazing force. She's still with me. I know people say that all the time. It's a year and a month later, I guess now, and I don't think I'd be climbing out if it weren't for her pushing me.
Right.
Climbing out of the darkness, that is, the mourning, the sadness, it's been a rough year. It's been the hardest year of my life. And we had a pretty shitty 10 years leading up to it with the MS.
Of course.
But, and I thought I was ready. I thought, it's funny, I've talked about this a lot today and I'm tearing up again. I thought I was ready because we knew it was coming. We didn't know when, we didn't know how, but we did know it was coming. And I was pre-mourning the whole time, I can't explain it. I thought I would handle it better. And it's been a really tough year that I don't think I would have survived, but for the community around me and the love and support that I've gotten from the community around me. Nicole was incredible. And, you say she was very sweet. She was, but she was also professionally, she was king asshole. And by that, I mean, like, she got shit done.
Right.
She was incredibly impressive in her business. I made a post on my Instagram yesterday that's getting quite a bit of love. I just cracked open her computer for the first time in a since she passed, and we had no secrets. So it's not like there's any kind of. I just didn't want to lose the photos and everything that were in there.
Of course.
And I posted some photos from just one birthday party, and it's like I only posted a few of the photos, and they're all top tier #1 celebrities, and she was only able to work at that level because she got shit done, and she was very serious about her work and took it very seriously, and her clients. I think that one of the things that was hardest for her was to let all of that go. As the disease progressed, around 2015, she had to stop working. She couldn't do that stuff anymore and couldn't travel and couldn't live that life. And after our regroup, a couple years later is when we started the dining room husband and wife podcast, Life with the Ryans. And the reason for that was really mainly so that she could have a little taste of that old life. We could have old clients come in, she could have those conversations and still be part of it at a pace she could handle. And I know that she always missed that part. And I know that from her telling me what she really wanted was she's like, if I wasn't fucking sick, I could make all of this stuff happen for you, being me. And I'm like, I don't care. I don't even want that stuff. This is all only happening because we started that silly podcast.
Yeah. Which was her idea.
Yeah. I mean, I think it might've been my idea but I threw it out to her and then she ran with it. But I feel lately, and this is what I was talking about before of her pushing, I feel like lately she's making a lot of these things happen. Me being on this podcast, Peterson's podcast, being invited to guest judge at the Hot Wheels thing on Saturday, the Hot Wheels Legends Tour. Big deal for me. They had asked in the past and we weren't able to do it because of, schedule and Nicole. But I'm so looking forward to that and things like it. And I feel like it's her doing her old job spiritually from beyond the grave. Sorry if that's too much.
No, not at all. Please keep it going. I love it. Well, actually,
I'm so grateful for it.
One thing that you said when you were on with Dan and on the Peterson and with B is there was a quote, and I don't want to go ahead and I don't want to fuck it up in any way, shape, or form. So I think I messaged you about it, so you probably know.
Yeah, I don't remember how it came up in that conversation, but whenever Nicole would, whenever somebody would, so the funny thing about when you have such a obvious ailment, other people tend to share with you what they're going through.
Sure.
Um, and often other people are going through heavy shit too, and you would never know it until they share. You think their life's fine because of Instagram and they're smiling at a car show or whatever, but the truth is everybody in the world is struggling with something.
100%.
And Nicole's response to that, I'll never stop saying it or giving her credit with it, but we're all just walking each other home. Like,
So good. It's such a line, man. When you uttered those words on the Peterson, which is a podcast about where you get a chance to go ahead and relive a special time in life. But then those words, and of all the things that you talked about, whether it was your stories with Letterman, whether it was, buying the 911 and things of that nature, that was the one thing out of all the things that could have stuck with me. That was the line that I was like, fuck, that's good. Respectfully.
so she was right. So think about
Yeah.
that for 5 minutes, and she was right. None of us get out of here alive, and we're all just here to help each other get wherever we want to go. And the truth is, none of us want to go to the same place. So what are we all fighting for?
Exactly. That's She was, I didn't get a chance to know her in any way, shape, or form other than I was following you guys' journey, but you could tell that she was a woman wise beyond her years.
Yeah.
And,
She was that way before I met her, and it only got more so as she got sicker and sicker and more spiritual. And,
yeah.
when you have a terminal illness, I think it's impossible to not connect with the other side before you get there.
Oh, 100%. I can only imagine. Like, I lost my father at a relatively young age. I was 8 years
How old were
old
you?
when I was 8.
Oh, God. I was 18. I thought that was young. I'm sorry for your
No,
loss.
no, no. It's okay. It's all good. I mean, losing him at 18 or at 8, because at 18 you're becoming a man. At 8, you're a boy becoming a teenager and things of that
Yeah.
nature. And so
Entering adolescence.
everything, And so shout out to my mom. Shout out to my mother who raised me and quite well. I'm not going to go ahead and pat myself on the back or anything like that, but
You're a very
obviously
good boy.
I try to be. My wife and I are raising 3 amazing boys, and I wouldn't be the type of
Oh,
person that I
wow.
am today if it wasn't for my mother. God bless her always. And so,
Good for
but
you.
I lost my father. Thank you. And I lost my father when I was 8, and whatnot. And I instead of losing him in the way that you did, where you knew it was coming, I lost him relatively by surprise. So I never got that, that time to share anything, even though I
No
always shared
wind
with my
down.
father.
Right, right, right.
Never, you know what I mean?
Oh,
Because it just came out of
sorry.
nowhere and whatnot. But no, it's okay. I mean, I've learned to accept it. I miss my father every single day. I know that I hope that he's very proud of what I've been able to accomplish over these last near 25 years at this point. But my biggest thing, though, or actually more than 25 years now that I think about it, but
Yeah, I did the math. It's 25 for you, and in March it'll be 30 for me.
yeah, and so you and I are in the same space of like we've lost people that are very close to us and whatnot, but we have been able to go ahead and you said that you feel like you haven't handled Nicole's passing as well as you would like. I would absolutely respectfully disagree with you on that because I think that and granted, I'm only seeing it from the social media spectrum, right, Jay? So I can't speak as to what is going on behind the lens, behind the camera, behind closed doors. I can only imagine the shit that you're having to deal with. I can only imagine. But what I can tell you is that I think that Nicole would be very proud of what you've been able to go ahead and how to handle it over these last 13 months. Um, and I think that you have carried her legacy and her name in a very positive way. And I know that probably people have told you that. And so, as a person who you've only met once, I hope that you can take those words in the same way that you've taken it from friends. And it's a real cool thing to see how much of an imprint she left on the people who were following the journey who maybe didn't even know you, right? Because a lot of us you through what you guys were doing, the late night playset and creating the Good Vibes Breakfast Club and everything like that. But like she left and you guys have left a really cool imprint, whether it was in Los Angeles, whether it was the West Coast, doesn't even matter if it's car culture or anything like that. You guys have
I
left
agree
an
with that.
interesting imprint, and I think that needs to be acknowledged. So
I'll just say thank you. I'll just say thank you. I don't know what I could add to that. You're very gracious, and I'll just say thank you.
course, man. And I didn't want to go ahead and do a somber note, but I felt it was right to,
I
like, you
appreciate
can't.
it. I'm going to make it my goal to cry on every podcast in
We should,
2025
man.
and
No, we should, because
2026.
it's healthy, Jay. It's healthy, and then also, like, you can't talk to you and not talk about her impact and how she was as an
Yeah.
individual, or
She is
how she.
part
You
of
know
my
what?
story.
Fuck it. How she is as an individual. How she still is as an individual. I'm sick of this talk about people who have now passed on, talking about them in the past sense and shit like that. They're with us. At the end of the day, my father is still with me in the same way Nicole is still with you and things of that
You believe
nature.
that? You feel that?
I fuck abso-fucking-lutely. Excuse my
Yeah.
language, but abso-fucking-lutely. Because I
I
look,
believe, since we're going there, I believe a lot of things I didn't necessarily used to believe after this experience. Um, you see things and you're there. You experience them live. Um, Someone transitioning, for
yeah,
instance, when she died in my hands. Um, yeah, it changes you because I think there's a lot of stuff that I probably thought was just I don't know, rhetoric. I don't even know what I thought it was, but words. I thought they were just words, and then you experience something
yeah,
that makes you go, holy shit, everything my grandparents ever said was true, everything an old person ever tried to tell me was correct. And then your perspective changes quite a bit because you're not living in the same world you used to.
right,
And perhaps that's part of why I've had a hard time this year because, my wife died, but my life was over. Our life that we had built was over. And it cracked wide open.
right.
And I didn't know where I was or what was going on next. And you have to figure that out. Um, yeah, I would say that there's a lot of things I didn't used to believe that I believe and know in my heart to be true now, which I hope will help and serve me going forward,
I know
both
it
in
will.
success and career, whatever, but also in being a good person, in helping others, in doing for others, just being having a service mentality to your fellow man. I think is what Nicole was talking about when she said we're all just walking each other home.
Right.
We have to be here for one another. I had a 2 hour conversation with a friend I thought would be 5 minutes earlier today because he was going through crazy struggle. I had another friend who came over the last week. I thought it was the same thing. He was going to come over and watch the show taping. And it turned out that he was going through some crazy shit. And being there for them made me feel better about my shit,
Right.
the stuff I was going through. And because anytime somebody's sharing, like that helps both people. And I don't think I ever knew that. I always thought, like, what are you throwing your problems on somebody else for? Like,
No, it's therapy
no,
on both sides, man. It's therapy on both
yes.
sides. Absolutely. I'm with you. I couldn't agree with
So
you
it's all
more.
a learning experience.
It very much is. Well, I have this like beautiful blessing of, like, you know, I see my oldest in particular, my oldest son, he's 8. And so as a lot of you can see, and anybody who knows me, I'm a brown skinned individual. And my wife, who is Mexican, I'm Puerto Rican, she's a little bit lighter than I am. And so my father was very white. We're all Puerto Rican. She's Puerto Rican. Excuse me, my mother is Puerto Rican, so is my father, and my wife is Mexican and whatnot. So my sons have the beautiful blessing of being half Puerto Rican, half Mexican. But my dad was white as all can be. He had the very European aesthetic to him,
Yeah.
as opposed to my mom being more your traditional, like, us being a little bit more darker skin and whatnot. And so when I see my son has the mixture of both, of what I like to go ahead and say my two favorite people, even though I love my mother. And I'm not saying my mom's not my favorite person. She very much is. But I have this beautiful blessing of seeing my son, and he's got these features of both my father and my wife. But because he's a young boy, it leans more towards my dad. So when I see my son, I see a lot of my dad when he was a young kid
Oh,
and whatnot.
wow.
And it gets to me. It
I
gets to me. I
bet.
look at him and I'm like, wow, you're my dad, but my son. It's wild. And then his spirit, his personality is that of my wife. And so he'll talk to me, and all I can see and hear is my wife nagging sometimes. By the way, I love my wife, but like my son will nag me the same way that my wife does. But then he's looking like my dad. So it's like, oh my God, what the hell? It's a very interesting and hilarious dynamic that I have
There
to
is a
put.
saying, as above, so below.
Exactly, brother. Exactly. It's just it's very funny. I love the dynamic, and so I'm glad that you are able to have those discussions with individuals where you can open up and continue to have those therapy sessions at the end of the day. It's up hell. It's a lot cheaper than actually going to a therapist itself, mind you. But it's good to have those real life discussions. You know what, man? I don't do this. And I'm not, I don't drink, mind you. I have a glass of water, but I'm going to just do this real quick
Oh,
to Nicole.
to Nicole.
To Nicole.
Mine was Red Bull, by the way. I don't drink either.
Okay, there you go. I had water in my, for anybody who was wondering, that was not
Yeah,
my.
I've got one. I've got one. I've got. It looks like I'm drinking a lot. I'm switching back and forth between.
Can I ask you a question? Since you were a late night guy and almost a connoisseur of it, are they really drinking coffee or what the hell is in the coffee mugs?
Depends on who you're talking about.
What did Conan drink?
I water generally.
Water.
Yeah.
Okay.
Letterman had two mugs. One was coffee and one was water.
Okay, cool.
And that's the reason I do the same thing on Playset.
I love it.
Mainly because we're using his old mugs.
So good. So, well,
yeah,
let me do this.
It depends. Usually it's water for the most part. But in the old days with Johnny Carson and stuff, I think there were times where a guest might have put a little
hooch. Yeah,
maybe. I mean, back in the old days when it was the Rat Pack and Dean Martin and, all hell broke loose in the old days.
I'm sure it did.
I remember there was an episode where everybody was drinking beer out of like clear, not clear, but opaque white, just plastic.
So you couldn't really tell.
Cups that weren't the red ones, the little small ones.
I know exactly which ones.
And I just remember they were all just singing. At one point, somebody starts ashing in the other guy's beer, and yeah, that must have been a different time. That's a little before
they were. I have a friend of mine who says the '90s were a lawless time, and apparently so were the '80s. They were lawless out there, brother. It was crazy. But I think
the further back you go, the
more lawless it is.
It was, yeah.
Which is funny because like they were so conservative, yet it was still so lawless at the same time, man.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. It was a very conservative generation, but all like anything goes.
Yeah, exactly.
They were free with sex and love and booze and pills and whatever the fuck else. Everybody smoked.
Everybody smoked. It was just
probably
a
not
wild
a lot of
time.
Weed, but I feel like cocaine and pills were big back then.
Hell yeah!
Before my time too.
Yeah, exactly. Well, Tormenting Tarmac.
I was a little kid in the 80s. I wasn't, going off the table.
Just a disclaimer out there: the Tormenting Tarmac and the Late Night Playset do not condone the use of illegal drugs. But you are also
living here in Los Angeles and then working in the entertainment industry
absolutely
for all those years. When I first moved out here, I would hear so many stories about rap beer was regular, no matter where you worked. It was like the moment they called rap, they brought out the coolers with all the beer, and people would just cool off as they were shutting down or whatever. And they stopped that after like a PA got killed driving home, drunk or something like that once. But I hear crazy stories about before that, there used to just be a pile of cocaine that was sponsored or whatever, like production bought it. They did it over there. No, if you need a little pick me up, just go get it.
Sure. I mean, you never know. Those guys were probably partying so hard. They were partying so hard probably that when they got to doing press and shit like that, it was like, well, like if you've ever watched the movie Flight, Denzel Washington's character, it's a fantastic character, fantastic movie, right?
Yeah.
And that scene where they call John Goodman, which is probably the best scene in the entire freaking movie.
Totally,
it's hilarious.
He's
the fixer. Shout out to Don Cheadle and John Goodman, and obviously the GOAT Denzel Washington and everything like that. And it's like that. I'm sure that was kind of what it was. Hell, you might even see that now with some individuals. You never know. And it's just
I won't say any names, and I won't say what the substances were because really it was usually like booze or whatever. But
for sure,
even during Nicole's years when we would have to work Comic-Con every year because some of the shows she would rep they were doing signings and panels and everything at Comic-Con. The San Diego Comic-Con, the big fuck.
Of course, that's the big one. Of course.
And we would go every year, and boy, I shouldn't be saying any of this, but whatever.
Hey, nobody listens to this podcast, Jay.
There was somebody from the studio who had a backpack that had vodka and a mixer or whatever in it, so that whenever it needed to be, they would just have a little fix me up.
Hey, you got to do what you got. You got to do what you got to do. It is what it is. It's all good.
There could be way worse stories, I guess.
There could be way worse stories. I'm sure there is way more stories. We're just probably not allowed to go ahead and say what they are.
Yeah. I've already said too much.
I want to, we brought up earlier in the conversation how you were a child of the 80s, because of the time, in terms of entertainment and whatnot. And one project that you're doing right now, which I haven't gotten a chance to pick to fully immerse myself in, but because I'm a fan of a lot of the stuff, I want to check it out more. And so I want to go ahead and just go to the
Oh,
source. You're doing your blockbuster. Please give me the correct name so I don't
it's
fuck it
called
up.
a blockbuster year,
Yes.
1985, because we're starting with that year. I met a lot of new friends when I did this Goonies 40th anniversary event up in Astoria, Oregon, where they shot the movie.
Yeah.
Was there a few months previous, and I accidentally got to know everybody in the town. It was just I was on this big grand tour that we do every year, which is a Nicole tribute tour, and it was the tail end of it because we'd already done the South route, Florida up the East Coast, coming back Canada and everything. And so here we are, Seattle, and coming down Oregon. And I thought, ooh, this will be great. I'll drive through Astoria, Oregon, and I will take some pictures of the Goonies house and whatever locations I can find or whatever. People are following the journey, right? So
Right.
like somebody reaches out who knew me from the Ghostbusters days when we built the Ghostbusters cars. And he was like, oh, I live not too far from there now. You should come in and I'll meet you for lunch and we'll go to whatever. And I was like, okay, sure, why not? I'm trying to do new things. I'm not really in the best headspace to meet new people, but okay, sure. And he said, let's meet at the Oregon Film Museum, which happens to be, you've seen Goonies?
I've seen parts of it. I'm sorry,
Okay.
God, people are gonna
No,
hate
it's
me for
okay
not
because it's
watching the
before your
Goonies.
time, so it's okay. But it's the jail that they break the guy out of in the beginning of Goonies. That's now the
Gotcha.
Oregon Film Museum, and it's right
Oh,
in the
that's
heart of
sick
town.
as hell, dude. Okay.
So he goes, let's meet there. So I said, oh, okay. And I got there first with Yellow Car, and I'm taking pictures of Yellow Car in the jail and everything. And I go inside, and the guy who runs the museum, his name Dave Knight. Shout out to Dave Knight. I met him. He was incredibly cool. He's like, oh, you just in town or whatever? And I'm starting to tell him my story. And then this new friend comes in. They already know each other, of course. And so he's like, oh, you're with him? Okay. Okay, you're all buddies. That was the first little meeting. And then they said, oh, well, we got to go to the short circuit house because Rich would love to see the car and he'd love to meet you or whatever. So then now we're being brought over to the short circuit house, which is like the other famous house in Astoria. And then he's like, oh, you got to meet Bayman, who bought the Goonies house, and he's in town this week, and I'm texting with him anyway. Let's go over there. I ended up getting to know all of like the local celebrities in town, so that when we came back for the anniversary, I'm nobody. Outside of the car world, I'm freaking nobody. We were professionally invisible our whole Hollywood career. I met all of these new people and YouTubers and I can't describe it. It was like an incredible experience. In fact, I had a 4-hour meeting today with the producer of the Goonies documentary that I met up there that we're going to do a different project down here because of all of this. All of that to say, one of the really incredible people I met was named Brandon Mindell, and he lives in Canada. And he and his father have a 100-car collection, mainly movie cars, some hot rods. Depends on the dad's into the hot rods, the kids into the movie cars. And it turns out they actually own the first Ecto that I built with my buddy Sean.
That's sick. I remember
Just
you talking
crazy
about that with
small
Dan.
world.
That's right. Yes.
Yeah. And just to toot my own horn, the other one we built, the more accurate one, is actually down at Universal Studios Orlando in the parade. So it can be seen by the public, which is very cool. But so, we started talking, and then and one thing led to another, and then the weekend was over, and we're on the phone chatting, and I had this idea for something that's going to hopefully come out soon. But we said, in the meantime, we should maybe establish ourselves as like, a podcast duo. And I said, what about some kind of a, movie something or other, whatever, maybe the 80s, maybe whatever. And he then formatted, like but before this conversation was over, he's like, no, we should probably pick one year and it should be 85 because some of our favorite movies are 85. Back to the Future, Goonies, Pee-wee's Big Adventure, huge ones. And I think the next week we did our test Meet the Hosts show, and we've been off and running since. We haven't missed a week. Brandon is fantastic. He's an incredible person to talk movies with because he's so knowledgeable, and then he does his research on top of his existing knowledge. I just kind of push the buttons, keep the thing moving production-wise, and he sort of formats and, takes care of the rundown of the show. We've had fantastic guests already, like for a brand new podcast with no views. Like we've got some really big guests, and And I'm really excited about it because it's fun. It's fun for me. I need to do fun stuff right now. I need to
Absolutely.
do things that, yes, they could pay off in the future and be good for me financially and professionally, but I also need to do things that make me feel good.
Yes.
And this makes me feel good. He's good. The guests have been good. The idea is good. People seem to really like the idea.
Yeah.
The gist of it is we pick a movie each week from 1985. We both watch it. We both make notes. He does way more research. He'll watch documentaries and different cuts of the movie and everything. And then we dissect it on Wednesday nights at 6 p.m. live on YouTube with the audience. And it's cool because most of our audience is the same age ish. And then
Right.
the ones that aren't, it's like Oprah's book club. Like it's an opportunity to go watch a movie you haven't seen or heard of.
Right.
And some of my favorite ones are movies that I didn't like, didn't want to watch, and I don't enjoy the pre-game of like doing the work. But by the time we get to the show, it's so fun. Sometimes we're just shitting on the movie. Sometimes we all agree this movie sucks, but sometimes it's a movie I don't like and Brandon loves, and that's an interesting dichotomy. Or sometimes they get like last night, the guest loved the movie. They gave it 5 stars. They chose it, of course. Sean Clark. Does this ever go on YouTube? This
Yeah, this is going on YouTube. Absolutely. I mean,
Okay, so
as long as
Sean
you're cool
Clark
with it,
is
absolutely.
is Malfunction on YouTube, and he's got a huge channel. He is like he's one of the biggest collectors of horror props in the world, original horror props, like Texas Chainsaw Massacre stuff, real Freddy gloves, things like that. And he has a show called Horror Hallowed Grounds, and most of his things that he does for his like locations and historical uh, movie whatever, they end up in like bonus features on the Blu-rays and stuff. And he was the guest last night, and we did Reanimator from the 1984, which is a total gore slash fest. It's a really good horror movie, but like, I liked it, and Brandon liked it a lot, but he loved it, gave it 5 stars, and it was a really fun episode to do.
Right.
I don't know, when you
Yes.
get different opinions, but people are all very respectful. It's like
Mhm.
the opposite of what's going on in the world right now. Like
You said it,
everyone
not
feels a
me, and
different
it's a
thing, and
fact.
they hate you because you think of something different. And it's like,
Uh-huh.
but can't we all just have different opinions and still, you know, have a civilization? So
You
that's what we're
can in the
doing.
car, and by the way, you can in car culture. Like that is a fact. It's actually possible because I have friends who have differing opinions to me, and we respect one another because of our love for cars. It allows us to go ahead and listen to each other in other aspects. So it is absolutely possible to go ahead and be friends with someone, but I just need people to always remember, and the biggest thing, and Jay, you just said it, just a little common courtesy is respect. That's all we need. We need a little bit more respect for one another in this world, people. I don't think that's too much to ask. Please carry on. I just wanted to make sure that people knew that.
When I was a kid, there were 3 topics you didn't discuss in public. It was religion, it was money, and it was politics.
Every time.
And I don't know if that's because I grew up in puritanical New England or what, but like it seemed like in order to be, those are divisive topics. No,
Mm-hmm.
no two people feel the same way about any of those topics. So it's kind of like, why are we talking about it when there's so much that we all do agree on? Like,
Read.
why aren't we focusing on that?
I don't
And
fucking
I think
know.
that's where the cars come in. Like, oh, there's this common denominator, this common interest, and maybe that it just doesn't. Yeah, I don't know.
Well, I think
I
we need
live
to
in
get,
LA too, so like it's very political here, and it just
which is interesting because I feel like LA does, I feel like it caters to a certain, not demographic per se, but a certain type of personality. You have to have the right personality in order to live in Los Angeles. I've always said that. I love
ooh, go
LA.
on.
Oh, I love LA, but I know for a fact myself I could never live in LA. I just don't have the right personality for it. I don't know what it is. Like I think I could do San Diego, maybe, but LA is just like I think I would get eaten out and fucking spit out back out as fast as you possibly can in Los Angeles. I wouldn't be able to handle it in any way, shape, or form.
Too rough, too.
No, I think it's like I hustle, right? I try to out hustle as much as I can. I would be out hustled so quickly by the work
Oh, I
ethic
see what you
and
mean.
that sort of demeanor that if I like like I'm all for competition and things of that nature, but I know, and I'm not saying that I'm not good in any way, shape, or form, but I know if I were to go ahead and get myself into Los Angeles and compete, whether it was in the podcasting market or anything like that, I would go ahead and get fucking booted out immediately just because
Mm.
of the level of talent and the lengths maybe people are willing to go to, that I'd be like, oh man, I can't. I almost feel like I can't keep up with Los Angeles, if that makes sense. That's how I view
Yeah.
it, even though I
Well, I
love it
live
as
here
a
and I
city.
feel that way. So
Exactly, and so it's a tough thing. Like when I see people like yourself being successful, and I see our friends like
am I
Johnny,
successful? I have no
I
idea.
consider. Oh, well, come on, Jay. Now, come on
They
now,
said the
brother.
same thing on the Peterson, and I was like, "Would you call that a career?" I kind of
Yeah,
just stitched some stuff
I would
together.
100%. I know I would. I think that with what you've been able to accomplish these last 20 plus years, to get to where yourself at to where you're at now, I would 1000% view you as someone who has done something and made an impact and say, I'm here for a fucking reason. You know what I'm saying? You have done that. And I
Okay.
think in Los Angeles, to do it to complete that and to accomplish that in that city is not an easy feat to accomplish.
I understand your perspective, but I think because if you call this success, the only secret sauce to this success would be to stay authentic and to stay true
Amen.
to yourself and not listen to what the algorithm says or what the audience says, or you should do this, you should do that. Hey, you know what's a good idea? You know the best. Your intuition knows the best. Your Magnus. I hate to go back to that, but you trust your gut. Like you know inside you, in your heart and your gut, what's right for you,
Right.
and what's right for me is not going to be right for you or anyone else.
Or vice
So
versa.
like you have to do it yourself. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So yeah, I mean, being a good person, which you seem to be, being a gracious person, which you seem to be, and then somebody who works hard, which you certainly seem to. I think that you might be surprised, but yet I understand and appreciate and agree with everything you said, regardless. I think that you would rise to the top. Again, because of the authenticity. Think of the people in our community who are at the top or higher
The
end of the
top.
echelon or whatever. The
Yeah. You
Magnuses, the
think of
Johnnies,
Johnny's and you think of Magnus and you
the
think of
Matt
Zach.
Farahs, right?
Of course.
They're all just true to who they are. They're not putting on an act for anybody. They're not. I think in the beginning, we kind of came. I was uncomfortable being on camera, so like I would get, hey everybody, we came up with that kind of a joke thing. But you being a Conan fan could probably see through that of like, oh, that's his talk show person. It's like a character. And when you really talk to him, you go, oh, he's not really like that. He's actually, a little more wholesome and grounded. Uh, if I could say that about myself, that felt weird to say about myself,
I
but
feel no, I feel exactly where you're coming from. I do, because even
so
for
I think
myself,
that's the
yeah,
secret. So I think you could now, whether you want to or not, is a whole different bag of
whole
worms.
different ball game, right? Yeah,
Yeah,
I hear you, but it's
but don't
I
sell
love
yourself
Los
short.
Angeles.
That was my point I was trying to make there.
Yeah, and that was, by the way, that was very kind of you,
Okay.
genuine, because to hear things like that, and talk about therapy. I've always told people that two things. One, Tormenting Tarmac is the best sociology experiment I could have ever come up with. 160 plus episodes in, which I know that you guys are like, I think on your about 600ish now,
So
right?
we did 607 the other night, I think. Of
That
the
gang, that how gangster is that, dude?
That's
That.
including late night play. It was what was it first? Life with the Ryans. Then we called
Yeah,
it Is Tonight Show for a little bit. Then we changed to Late Night Playset. But so all of those together is 607,
but it's still the
and then
same,
more with the blockbuster year now too.
which is amazing. And so, well, let me get back to that for 1 second, because like you guys are saying, you're saying that you're focusing on the year 1985. You brought up the Goonies, but then you also had you brought up one of the greatest movie trilogies that I can tell you right now. Like, you always see on Twitter people put out there's like, what's the greatest movie trilogy? And then you got the Lord of the Rings trilogy, and then you've got the Dark Knight trilogy, which both are iconic. But
Star Wars, people say.
Star Wars, of course, the original trilogy and whatnot, though, that's definitely up there. And I love all three of those.
No, but the big one is
It's Back to the Future. It really, really is. My wife, for my
it's the movie of
30,
our generation.
it's not even of my generation yet. I get sucked into it because I think it's so good. The first one is so. Here's the
It's
thing.
perfection. It's
It's a
maybe the
perfect
best
movie.
movie ever made.
It's up there. It's in the top 10, one
Yep.
without a shadow of a doubt. And I don't
They
think
teach that script in film school and in writing classes because it's so perfect.
you being a huge movie and entertainment fan in the same way that I am. Do you remember? I think this was during the pandemic. So this would have been like 2020. Netflix went ahead and they released a series where they went ahead and went back and they kind of looked back at some of the most iconic movies of all time. One of the
No,
movies
my
that
friend produced it. You talking about the movies that made us?
yes, one
Yeah,
of the
we had him
best.
on the show. Brian
Dude,
Volk-Weiss
that's
produced all
such a
of it.
sick series. It's such a
Yeah.
sick series because they went. I think what they Home Alone. I think was also in
Yeah,
covered in that.
Ghostbusters. They did a bunch of them.
Ghostbusters, Back to
Die
the
Hard.
Future, Die Hard. Yeah, shout out to Reginald Vell Johnson. Let's fucking go.
Oh, right on. Hi, Carl.
Hey, so good. I'm sorry. All right, like he's so good.
Reginald
His
Val
role.
Johnson, who has never not played a cop. In every movie I've ever seen him in, he's played a cop.
Jeez, that's so true, isn't it?
Do you know he's in Ghostbusters? He's the cop in the jail cell. Ghostbusters, the mayor wants to talk to you guys. And then obviously A Family Matters. He's a cop.
Of course.
He's a cop in Die Hard. He's a cop in Turner and Hooch. I've never seen him not play a cop.
You know what the funny thing is for anybody who has never who doesn't know this about Reginald Vell Johnson, he played Carl Winslow in Family Matters, and he's one of the greatest TV dads of all time. But excuse me, Reginald Vell Johnson doesn't have any kids,
Huh.
and so somehow, some way, he was able to go ahead and portray what we believe to be one of the stereotypical good father figures that came on TV. And
he's
the
like
dude
an
never
Uncle
had
Phil.
Yeah, dude, Uncle Phil to me is the GOAT. Yeah.
Prince.
Oh, of course. No, it's funny. Earlier today, I was doing a get to know you with my work team and whatnot because we had a couple of new employees start, and they did a get to know you, and I had to put what my favorite TV show of all time is. It's Fresh Prince of Bel-Air.
No kidding.
Very
that
much.
Episode where Uncle Phil, why doesn't my dad want me? Why doesn't my dad love me?
That's one of the best pieces of acting in TV history, man.
Still to this day, it'll make me
every time. It's like Will Smith should have won an Emmy just for that scene. He should have won an Emmy, and but you know, whatever. I think
he was still winning Grammys back then.
He very much was, and not to mention he was doing Bad Boys and then Independence Day and then shit. Will Smith ran the 90s.
Got left behind.
He sure did, but you know what? He still rode with them anyways and whatnot, and so like he's still getting some money from Will Smith. I'm sure he's just fine. But
so this is bouncing around completely. But
no, it's all good.
Nicole's happiest times ever to not be in doing her job anymore. She wasn't happy to have MS, but she goes, "Holy shit, am I happy I'm not there?" She used to represent Chris Rock, and she used to represent Serena Williams. The night of the Oscars, Will Smith was there, winning the Oscar for playing the Williams sisters' dad.
Of course, 2022. How can we forget?
Correct. And the Williams sisters were there in the balcony, if you remember, they kept cutting to him. And she repped Chris, who was the one who got slapped. So she would have had to have been in the middle of both sides of that situation. And she just looked at me and was like, I am so glad I'm not there.
Bro, what a trip.
This is not my problem.
What a trip that night was, let me tell you. Like, I remember watching that. I think I was on
what a roller coaster, right? The highs.
Dude, I was like on a 5-minute delay, and I saw that happen. I was like, "There's no fucking way."
Yeah, it's got to be a put on.
But it very much wasn't. And then I've talked to shout out to my boy Delvon Watson, who produces the music for Tormenting Tarmac, one of my best friends in the world.
Cool.
Him and I we send each other stuff via Instagram all the time, and somehow, some way, Jada Pinkett Smith would say shit that made Will Smith look worse as time went on. Where I was just like, Jada, I plead with you, please shut up. Like, stop talking about this. It's worse. It's just everything you say is worse. So that's Jada Pinkett Smith calling right now, saying,
"Correct, yes,
on
that's right." She just stopped talking about this.
We're done.
We've moved. That was Nicole, by the way, too. Nicole had all of these tricks that she would do. She would put chapstick. Vaseline. She'd put Vaseline on her fingers.
Yeah. So
that before she was going to walk outside with a celebrity where there was going to be paparazzi, she knew, there's the message. She knew who was okay and who wasn't. Right. And when she walked out, she would touch the lenses of the bad ones so that she smeared their lenses with the Vaseline that was on her fingers so that they wouldn't, TMZ the situation or whatever.
100%.
I think TMZ is a little more reputable than it used to be, but
which is so wild because they were the National Enquirer of TV for the longest time.
Yes, correct.
Yeah,
yes.
but like the way that
bastard stepchild, and now they're doing investigative reporting for the news.
Dude, they're the ones that run. They broke Hulk Hogan passing. TMZ Sports is one of the most reputable sports outlets out there, and I'm just like, how the hell? Like, what's his name?
Harvey Levin.
Harvey Levin. I remember him from the People's Court. Shout out to Judge
Yeah.
Marilyn Million, yo. Like, I
So did
remember
Nicole
him.
did too.
Oh God, it's just like it's
All
so
these people
funny.
are still on her old phone, by the way, and like I kept her old phone active because
I
I
love
didn't
that.
want to. I don't know, whatever. I just wasn't ready to let it go.
I
And I
got
think
you.
about, boy, I've got Hollywood. I've got everybody. Like I
You've
could
got
access
contacts.
anybody.
You've got contacts.
Yeah.
I was talking with Zach the other day because you obviously went ahead and did Zach Clapman's driver's test. You were one of the first guests. You and
We did
Derek
the
were
pilot episode. Yeah,
incredible.
what a fun time.
That was such a great. I can't wait for the second episode to finally drop. I know that he's in the middle of filming it, I believe. So I hope that it's coming very,
They're
very
doing to
soon.
do a block of a bunch of them now. Yeah.
Yes, and I'm really looking forward to it. But you and Derek were tremendous, as were, of course, Jesse and Alana, and everything. You guys were.
The dichotomy of the two teams was great because
It was
like
so much
Derek and
fun.
I are just having a good time, and they were seriously trying to win the game.
But they also were still having a good time on top of that. So like they were
Yeah,
taking
yeah.
it seriously, but still knowing that, hey, we're here to have a blast and also school people. And it was a great. It was great. I loved it.
Derek knows a lot, but we both felt like they know a lot more than us. We just have to be funny.
Well, I've had the privilege of having Jeff C. Wuji on the podcast. He was actually here back in January. He did it via Zoom as well.
Oh,
And
cool.
so, like, as soon as you guys were talking about, like, there was a question that Zach asks. I think it was about like JDM tuners in particular. And I was like, oh
Yeah,
shit. I was like,
because he knows so much.
he knows everything. Yeah,
Yes.
it's hilarious. But I wanted to go ahead and say something because we were still talking about Back to the Future, just to get back to it. And my wife for my 34th birthday, she went ahead and bought me one of those canvases, and it's in my bathroom, and it's of Back to the Future. And you were saying that you believe firmly that it is one of it. It might be possibly the greatest movie ever created, and it's very
Yeah,
much
I
up
think
there.
of our generation, it is the movie that seems to be everyone's favorite. But I mean, just as a script, it's perfect.
The script is perfect. The way that and it's also it was so ahead of its time. And that phrase we've used now a couple of different times here and whatnot, because we discussed Conan being ahead of
Conan,
his
yeah.
time and even Letterman being ahead of his time to an extent. But like that film really set the standard, because it was one of the first times that I can remember. And again, you're a little older than me, so maybe you can school me on this, but it was one of the first times that we really saw that a car in a movie was just as big of a character as the main characters themselves. What other movie can you think of that the car that was in a, like, because
A
not even
lot,
Ferris
a
Bueller.
lot, but the movies are small. There's a
Bingo.
lot. Gone in 60 Seconds. There's
The original one.
There are a lot
Yeah.
of car movies like that, but they were, what do you call them? Cult classics.
Sure.
Back to the
I mean,
Future is
Smokey
a
and the Bandit,
mainstream
maybe.
classic.
Smokey and the Bandit is probably the first one, but
Yeah.
it's fair to say that Back to the Future was a blockbuster of epic proportions.
Yeah, the trilogy is still one of the biggest moneymakers of all time, I think, for Universal.
Absolutely. If you especially
And
if you go ahead
they're
do
still making
inflation.
money off of it.
They still, I mean, I was
You don't need a fourth movie.
I'm weird. Hang on for 1 second, Jay. I got to bring this up because I am not the biggest fan of reboots. However, if you're willing to make a reboot and the story is good and there are people who were involved in everything of the original stuff, and like, for example, when James Cameron gets himself involved in Terminator shit, I'm down for it because James Cameron still has that
Created
mindset.
the genre, yeah.
He created the movie. He created the story.
Yeah, created the franchise.
So,
I mean, yeah.
so even though, for example, like I brought up Ferris Bueller, which is like one of my all-time favorite movies.
9.
John Hughes, 9 times. Have a kiss for daddy. Like, so obviously John Hughes passed away a long time ago, but we still have Matthew Broderick and we still have Alan Ruck, and we have everybody really from that.
No, we don't have Rooney, buddy.
We don't need Rooney, but it's all good. But but like, I think that you could still tell a story there where if you heavily involve Matthew Broderick within the storytelling, or if you involve people who work closely with John Hughes. So, for example, somebody like Chris Columbus, of course, of Harry Potter fame and Home Alone, excuse me. Like, if he was involved with it, it was like I think it would be like there's something there where it could be Cameron's kid, or it could be Ferris's kid, Ferris and Sloane's kid and whatnot, or like you kind of change the characters of it's Cameron's son that's more like Ferris, and then Ferris's son or daughter is more like Cameron, and you can make that a really interesting story while also revisiting Ferris and Cameron and kind of them re-exploring or re-finding themselves nearly 40 years after the original actions of the story. There are places that you can go with that. And I bring that up because like Robert Zemeckis is still very much alive. I think Bob Gale is still very much pretty sure he is.
Yeah, they're both very active.
Yeah, exactly. Now, of course,
the musical.
Yeah, and Michael J. Fox is, Tourette's, not Tourette's.
The doors to Back to the Future 4 are permanently closed as long as Bob and Bob are alive. They're not going to do it.
They're not going to do it, and they probably shouldn't.
Wholeheartedly on this. I also agree with everything you just said. Oh, there's all sorts of ways to do it, but are you helping the original or are you taking away? I would say
you got to be careful with the legacy, right?
Hurts the franchise instead of helping it. And I didn't feel that about Crystal Skull, although some people did. I thought that was not great, but
I happen to love it.
The most recent one, I find it to be fucking, it's Citizen Kane. And I love Indiana Jones. And I wanted to like the new one very, very badly, and I just couldn't. So it comes down to, is it worth it? Are we helping the original story or the franchise along in any way? Like, what's the reasoning? What's our motivation? Could we do it? Sure, you can do anything. Put your mind to it. You can accomplish anything. But, should we or not? So Bob Gale's interpretation is that go see the musical if you want more Back to the Future, because it is a different telling.
Very much so. Or the Jimmy Kimmel reenactment that Christopher Lloyd and Michael J. Fox are a part of in 2015 when they were celebrating the 30th anniversary, that they did it right on the Jimmy Kimmel stage.
Yeah, they got that from us. We did it for the Scream Awards in 2010.
That's so right. Oh, dude, they did.
I mean, they didn't get it from us, but we did the first time Michael and Chris were together again. We did at the Scream Awards with our DeLorean in 2010. Yeah. At the Greek Theater here in Los Angeles.
That's awesome.
And speaking of TMZ, they followed me the whole way home to the after party because I drove the DeLorean.
How cool is that? Just how cool is that? So
that's not cool at the time. It's cool, I guess, now.
It's cool, I guess, now. Obviously, I remember you retelling the story about Kobe Bryant and Kobe Bryant being like, "I'm sorry, it's like this everywhere." But you were like, "Kobe, I know
they can't see
Kobe,
you,
but they can't see you. It's the car, brother."
And when he realized that I was right, he settled down. It was a whole different thing because he felt like he was on in a parade, and I was like,
"Yeah,
nope."
I love that, dude. I want to ask.
By the way, that same night, I put a proton pack, the one that's sitting over there, on Bill Murray's back because he was a Ghostbuster for the first time since Ghostbusters. So it was a crazy night for my childhood and two of the biggest franchises of my life, and to be ancillarily involved with both Chris Lloyd, Michael J. Fox, Bill Murray, it was nuts. That was a crazy, crazy night.
I think it might be fair to say that you might have the biggest Rolodex in your entire friend group, Jay. You and Nicole's combined. I think it's fair to say.
Oh, yeah. He's your
100%. Yeah.
Nicole's in there? Yeah.
I love that, dude.
Yeah. I would never do anything with it, obviously.
No, of course not. And that's the thing. But you know what? You were talking when you were with Dan and with B, you said that you'd love to have Letterman. And I think that would be, because like you've had Jay, right? So which is
do you think that helps us or hurts us to get
so we got to be careful with that, right? I don't know, you want to go ahead and say, hey man, so I've had Jay on and so you could be like,
oh, they all know Worldwide Pants has been here. Their executive producers have been here to see.
Well, I think that to me helps the legitimacy. Then I think it helps the legitimacy of it and whatnot, because I know Spike, and I know that if you really wanted to, you could be like, you probably get Jerry. If you really wanted to, you could probably get Jerry.
I think. Yeah, I mean, obviously, I'd love that. I never have asked. I've never read it. Matt Fair and I talked about this recently,
right? Because he had the same thing. He was like, he
had Jerry do his 999th podcast or something,
which is amazing.
But he was like, the only reason everyone's cool with hanging out with me is because they know that I won't bug them to be on my podcast,
right? And
there's an element to that I agree with fully. But at the same time, we are also kind of doing a glorified Kramer's Apartment with the Merv Griffin set. You know what I mean? So like, maybe Jerry would be the perfect guest. I don't know. I feel like he would just eviscerate me. He would just annihilate me. I know.
Well, what if you did it this way?
Tear me up.
Maybe. Jerry's got this weird. Jerry, for being a comedian, has a very interesting sense of humor, because I feel like if he torches you, you're good. It's almost like a. What
Depends
is
on how
it?
you take it, probably.
If you can't take it personal. You can't.
Right. If
That's
you
what
can
I've
take it
come
like
to
a
learn.
comic with a thick skin, I think you're right. You
I
probably earn
think
that respect.
it's a rite of passage. If he's shitting on you to your face, I feel like it's almost a rite of passage, which is weird, but I think it's
Yeah, and
I
I
think it's
probably wouldn't
honest.
expect anything different too, right? Like if he was sitting in the chair. Yeah.
100%. Yeah. I
I
think
think that that would be, I'm thinking about it for the first time now that you mention it, because I've never actually thought about Jerry here, but I feel like I've got enough Nicole stories where she worked on stuff with him, flew privately with him. There was a point where Jessica Seinfeld wanted to set Nicole up with Jake Gyllenhaal. This was like, I don't know, probably a year or so before Nicole met me. And obviously that never happened. But
yeah, you
it was
you
the
duking
same
it out with
trip. They were,
Jake
in fact,
Gyllenhaal
they
over
were
Nicole would
promoting
have been
B movie, I
great.
think, in Europe,
Yeah.
and I think Spike wrote that. And there's a story about how, and Nicole would tell it all the time, about how when they got to wherever they were doing the thing, England, Poland, I have no idea where they were, someplace in Europe, and they had Jerry in a big beast suit and they were craning him down or something, whatever it was. They almost killed Seinfeld. He almost like overheated in the suit and they couldn't get him back in or whatever. And I remember her telling him that at a car show or a Concours or something at the Santa Monica airport once. And his response was just, "You were there?" And like he remembers that moment, so viscerally. And yeah, maybe some of that stuff would be fun. He's such a Porsche guy. I mean, if he was willing to talk about anything other than Porsches, I think we could do something. Otherwise, it would be a very short segment because he knows so much more than me
Sure.
about cars and Porsches.
Wait, but by
But
the
you're
way,
right.
that's
Maybe that would be good.
I
I
think
mean,
it's
I
a
certainly wouldn't say
I
no.
don't think it hurts to try, especially because or you could just do him and Spike. I mean, knowing Jerry, he'd probably take over the episode, and Jerry Spike would just be there, right? Or it would just be them and you, the two of them, and you're just like, this is my show, so I'm getting revenue off of it. But I think it would be because you know how they are, man. Like, because let me give you a perfect example. I was rewatching that clip between Conan and Jimmy from a year ago, and the way that Conan commands the camera, the audience, everything around him. He's
Conan
not
pulls
taking.
focus.
He does. He does it very well. And Jimmy was just there for the ride, basically. For you, I'm sure. And by the way, you do an exceptional job of commanding the story, of commanding the narrative, whatever you're involved in, and you must be commended for that. I mean that
Really?
because 100%. Because I felt that
That's
way
not me.
tonight
I'm
in a
not
good
good at
way.
that. It must be
No, no,
Nicole's
no.
influence.
Well, then shout out to fucking Nicole because like she's the goat, right? And so like I feel like in that way, if you were to have Jerry and Spike on your show, it'd be like it's Late Night Playset with Jerry Seinfeld, Spike Ferriston, and Jay Ryan. Like that's how it would be for that one episode. But that would be like I feel like that would be a really interesting dynamic where you get to be instead of being, oh, wouldn't you like to be a fucking, fly on the wall for that conversation? Instead of being the fly, you are literally the chair that they're sitting on. And that, my friend, is a whole different ball game at that point. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's I don't
I
know,
mean, the
Jay.
last time Jerry was on that chair, it was in the Ed Sullivan Theater, right? So it's
Hey,
a whole little different experience.
but it's not too bad. The way you set it up, though, I think is, and that's, I think you and Nicole's creativity is what has allowed you guys to go ahead and be so much fun for the LA car scene. You know what I'm saying? Because you
Thank
did
you.
like the way that I look at it, like, and the way that you've spoken about everything tonight, you have a level of creativity in your mind, Jay, that I think a lot of people try and emulate or would die to have. Where do
That's
you
right.
think
Everybody wants to be like Jay.
yeah, no, but I'm serious. I
I
think
don't think so.
there's a genuine creativity that I feel is happening in your brain, and you and Nicole were able to kind of like put out there as a couple together, and then you continue to push that as you yourself. Now, where do you feel that the creativity really came from, and what do you think is it that is the key to continue because we talked about originality earlier today. So what do you think where your influence for your creativity came from, and then what do you think is what continues to help you evolve whatever creativity you may still have?
My dad was a creative. He was a commercial photographer. He was a volunteer firefighter for years and years too. So he was a really good person, but he was a professional photographer. And and artists. And when I was a kid, we would draw together. There were pads all over the house. It was very strange. I have no idea why to this day. I think they just came from work, but there was literal tiny pads all over the house and these little black ink pens. And so we would draw, like he would draw a train and then he would have me try to draw it or whatever. He would draw a car or a tractor or something like that. And then he would have me try to do it. And I think it started way back then, as early as I can remember. And then my mom, who I don't have a great relationship with, but she used to tell a story about how she went and visited my nursery school when I was a kid. Nursery school, you're what, 4 or 5 years old, maybe?
Yeah.
Pre-kindergarten. Oh, yeah, that's right. They call it pre-K now. It used to be nursery school when I was a kid. And we had done some kind of art with finger painting or something. And she looked at mine and she was like, oh, geez, what the hell is that? And the people at the school were like, this is amazing. He is so much more advanced than the other kids in the class or whatever. And she was like, really, with this? So I could have only come from like, drawing with my dad and picking up details because he showed me, these are the pieces that make the train or the backhoe or whatever the thing.
Yeah.
I'm guessing it probably came from there, but then I've just applied it my whole life. I kind of feel like one of those people who never grew up.
Isn't that the best feeling?
My dad died when I was 18, so then, that stunted my manhood. You said like, you're becoming a man. Like, no, I didn't. I was supposed to, but I didn't. And then I just kind of stayed this permanent kid who didn't have structure. And I never went to school in the normal ways. Like I told you, I was flunking my classes because I would go work on my little TV show like this in the studio in high school. But I would still I'd call myself in sick to school, or like like call myself, say, he's not going to be in school.
You pulled a Ferris.
Yeah, no, I ruined it. Instead of going to the Cubs game and everything else, I would then take the bus to school. And then I would work in the TV studio all day, but I had to call myself out of the classes that I was going to miss so that I didn't get incompletes or whatever. Anyway, they got hip to this very quickly and were like, what are you doing? Because the show wasn't just me. It was like we would book local celebrities from New York, soap opera stars and weathermen and stuff like that. And eventually they said, well, you're not going to graduate on time. Like, do you care? And I was like, I care about what I'm doing. Like, this is what I care about. And that's when junior year, they set me up with an internship to work at the local TV station. And that's how that all happened, which led to 30 Rock the next year and on and on and on. And I graduated with straight A's with honors, which is totally crazy. I don't know. I think all kids are probably creative, whether they're good at it or not. I think they just are because we don't know not to be.
Well, because their imagination runs wild. Like I'm seeing that with my sons right now. Their imagination runs wild, and I almost
anything
envy
is
it.
Possible.
Yeah.
And I think that most people have that beaten out of them or trained out of them or programmed out of them by the school system or society or whatever. And I think I just never fell prey to that. And I still live in this little fantasy world where you can build, a late night talk show set in your dining room. It probably looks cartoony in here, but if you were to see this in person, it's nuts. It's like, you did 30 Rock in your freaking condo. How did you do that? Right. I'm very long-winded tonight. The Red Bull, I didn't need the Red Bull, but I don't know if I answered your question or not.
You very much did. And by the way,
my dad.
You say that you're being long-winded, and shout out to Mr. Ryan, to the real Mr. Ryan. Obviously, you and I talked about like, what do you want me to call you? And I was like, call me Jorge, just don't call me Mr. Aquino because that's my pops. And you were like, you can call me Mr. Ryan if you want to, which I love.
You definitely don't have to. Yeah. But the letter J is a little short.
It is, but like, so one thing you brought up that you're being long-winded. You're telling me all these stories and I'm actually having the time of my life. There was one story that you wanted to tell on the Peterson podcast, but because they only go like 35, 40 minutes, you didn't get a chance to. This format is long form, as you can tell, because we've been going a while now. So if no one has heard the story of you breaking into the Ed Sullivan Theater.
All I did was knock on the door. They opened the door.
Yeah, but I want to hear the story. I've never had the pleasure of fully hearing it. So I'd like for you to go ahead and expand on it a little bit and just kind of tell us how that came about, because I do think it's fascinating.
I maintain that this would take the rest of your show. This someday, if you want to know like that story, like I've told.
Well, when I come up in November,
an hour and a half of that story.
When I come up
You
in
know,
November to Good Vibes, that's what we're gonna do. But like, if you want to go ahead and tell it a little
yeah,
bit
I
here,
didn't want
yeah.
to disappoint you on that. I'll be on the road for that during the Grand Tour, so I won't even
Oh,
be there.
really? Okay. Well, at least you're okay.
Yeah,
It's all good. It's all good.
sorry.
But you have the floor, my
But
friend.
wait,
Go
where do
ahead.
you live?
I'm in Phoenix. Are you coming?
No. Well,
Oh, okay.
maybe. We're doing the South route, so it's possible. It's
Hit
possible
me
because I
up.
got to get to Austin to go to Coda before on the way to Florida. There's a couple
Okay.
events I have to hit on the way.
I mean, the
So
I-10
maybe, so
comes through
maybe.
here, man. You know how it is. So
I
you
know we were but I do that every time. So I was gonna take the 8 this time and go down along the border. But whatever, everything's up in the air.
I hear you.
The Letterman story is very long to tell, and when I was a kid, I stole the microphone that's sitting over there on that desk. So
Right.
the irony that one day we would then be gifted this desk and chairs that the microphone goes with by a museum is nothing short of a Forrest Gump type miracle, right? Because it doesn't happen that way. It doesn't make sense. But that's the long and short of it. Yeah. One day we'll tell the story. When I was a kid, I did a little high school show that was like a version of this in the same town as Letterman, and we would send tapes into the show and on and on and on. And then one night, 2 weeks after my dad died, I I drove down to the city. See, this is what happens every time. And I did. I got let into the Ed Sullivan Theater after I knocked on the door and by the cleaning crew, and one by one the cleaning crew left, and then I was in the Ed Sullivan Theater by myself, basically overnight. I was only there for a couple of hours, maybe not even that long, an hour or so. Yeah, it's pretty wild. That's the funny thing about that story is that, believe it or not, me being let in and stealing the microphone isn't even the interesting part of the story. It's what happens after that becomes so interesting.
So
And
then what did happen?
well, we can save that for another time. Have me
Okay,
back
fair
on.
enough.
We'll do the part
Well,
two.
I'll tell you what, we'll save it for part 2 and then make part 2 just that particular story. Because you're gonna come back. You're gonna come back on
I mean,
team.
if you want to hear the story now, you can. It's Google Late Show 25 because on the 25th anniversary of the Late Show, I told it here, but it was my first time ever saying it out loud and sort of confessing it to the world. So like I'm emotional. Well, I guess I was emotional here tonight too. Maybe I'm just an emotional guy. But anyway, it's a long story that is pretty nuts. That I mentioned the guy from the Goonies thing being here today for a project. I've been talking about that story all day today. I'll just say that.
Fair enough.
So stay tuned. It will be seen and heard about somehow, somewhere soon.
Well, then I will plug the shit out of it. Don't you worry about that.
But I'm happy to tell it on your show too. It will eat up the rest of it.
No, it's okay, brother. Well,
but that's one of the reasons I want to have Dave here.
That's totally fair.
Time I saw him was at his house.
That's totally fair. And the moment that I think you have Dave, like that's got to be an iconic moment for you. You know what I mean? Because like,
yeah. Talk about a full circle or closing the circle.
Yeah. No, well, because like, I'm small. So wow, did you see that? If anybody
you popped
watched
your earbud out, that was amazing.
I did, and I caught it
as I was ejector button.
Ejectocito, cuz.
Like an airbag, just right out.
Exactly. That's how I felt. In a way, David, I want to be very clear when I say this. And if Johnny Lieberman listens to this episode because you're on it, and then he listens to this, he's probably going to get a kick out of it because he's like, the fact that you've put me in the same conversation as Jay Ryan having David Letterman on his show is kind of wild. But just bear with me for 1 second. When Johnny Lieberman decided to do Tormenting Tarmac the first time, I threw him a message. I didn't expect for him to respond. He had started following me randomly because of a friend of mine that I have here in the Phoenix area. And so when I got him to come, when he came on, it was like a mind-blowing experience. Cause like I've grown up, reading, I'm 35, but like I started watching Johnny when I was like 19, 20 years old,
sure.
And everything, him doing everything on Motor Trend, and then them doing the whole YouTube channel and becoming one of the biggest and best car YouTube channels on YouTube at the time. And at the same time, that's when Matt was, building and creating what we now know as a Smoking Tire.
What would that have been back then? Was it Shifting Gears? What was the...
No, so this was like after Garage 420, and this was the beginnings of the Smoking Tire. So this would have been like 2009 going into 2010, right around there. And then, so Johnny and Motor Trend would have been doing Ignition, and they would have been doing Head to Head back in
Head to Head is what I couldn't think
of. Head to
Head,
yeah.
Got it.
And so when Johnny did my show, it was like a mind blowing experience in and of itself because Johnny, to this day, as we both know, is still one of the top writers and top car personalities in the world today. Like, I don't care what anybody
Yeah.
says, it's just honest. And so when he
Yeah.
did my
If you read
show,
car magazines or car articles, you know
you
who he
know who
is.
Johnny Lieberman is.
Sure.
Exactly.
Agree with him, love him, hate him, whatever.
He is very much a name, and Matt is the same way. So to have had those two guys who I've had so much respect for their opinions and for what they've been able to accomplish, it's been one of those things of like, wow, man. Like, I started this journey 3+ years ago or whatever. We're in season 4. Season 5 is going to be in January and whatnot. And like
Right on.
I'm blessed, bro. I'm blessed, right? We just hit
Amen.
150 episodes a couple months ago, and then if all goes well, episode 200 is coming next summer. Like, that's mind blowing in and of itself. That people still, even if it's just like 2 people. Shout out to my mom, who I know sometimes listens. Thank you for listening to my podcast and making it somewhat legitimate, Ma. I love you. Uh, but like, in that way, those guys having come on my show made me feel some form of legitimacy, right?
Yes.
And
It's
in
like
the
they
same,
legitimize you just by being on the
by
thing. Yeah,
being here,
absolutely. Sure.
exactly. And so you having done the thing with Leno, and then when Letterman comes on, if and when, and I believe he will, it's one of those things where you have to kind of step back for 1 second, Jay, and be like, not fucking bad, man, not fucking bad at all.
Yeah, I don't know if I said it here or like I said, I've been talking about this all day today. So forgive me if I'm repeating
You're
myself, but
good.
that was one of the things that we were very close to having Letterman here right before COVID. Letterman has one guy. He doesn't have a whole team. He has one guy. And Nicole knew him from the old days when she used to book people on different shows. The guy used to work for the Late Late Show here at, when it was Craig Ferguson, I think. And Nicole knew him, and when she reached out about it, he got right back to her, and then they went back and forth, and then it was gonna be Letterman was gonna. This is 2020, and Letterman was going to be on. He was coming out to LA to do the Netflix is a Joke festival in April, and they're talking in like January, February, something like that, and it was like, holy moly, this is real. I can't believe this is real. And COVID happened, and the world shut down, and they canceled the festival like everything else.
Right.
And over COVID, while Nicole and I never got COVID, then she deteriorated
Right.
tremendously during that time, and was really never able to facilitate anything again. Surviving every day, every moment became the struggle, and she always felt very badly that it never happened, that she couldn't make it happen for me, that she felt like she dropped the ball, even though none of this was her fault. I feel like this will happen. And I do feel like there's a lot of Nicole now trying to make it happen. Like the things I'm being a little bit coy with, like, oh, we had a meeting and there's other things going on. These are all things that have come out of the woodwork very lately to sort of reinvigorate trying to get Letterman here or whatever. And other people are working on it now. And I think that my wife, who felt badly about that, is trying to correct the situation. And I feel like it will happen. Maybe I don't know, maybe I'm delusional. I don't think so. I think it's pretty real. And I think that would be, I can't explain what it would do for me, because like I did this thing that I was always ashamed of as a kid. And then, to be able to close the circle, like I said, Worldwide Pants has been here. They had me tell the whole microphone story and whatever on their cameras and whatever, so that they could have it. But to actually do it and get Dave here and, see what he remembers about the kid showing up on the porch with the microphone and giving me the Late Show jacket and all that stuff. See what his interpretation of it is. I think would not only be really good for me personally and completing myself developmentally speaking, but I think it would be like, I think it would be captivating to watch. I think it would be like the most interesting podcast / talk show segment there ever was, because like, who has that story of taking something from Johnny Carson and then going on Johnny Carson and telling him about it or whatever? It just doesn't exist. So yeah, I look forward to having Letterman here, or however that works. Me getting that time with Letterman,
Right.
and I think he will come here. I
I
do. I
think
don't know
so
why I
too.
see
I
that
think it would
happening.
also be, I feel like it'd be cathartic almost. You know what I mean? Like a
It
full
will be for
circle
me.
moment. Yeah,
For me,
very
it
much
will
so.
be. Yeah, it's
100%.
like,
Yeah.
oh, you can get on with your life now. You can finally grow up in your mid 40s.
This is your Peter Pan moment, Jay. Yes.
After Nicole passed away is when we switched the desk and chairs around so that it was more the Letterman positioning, because we used to
Right.
have it sort of set up in our own way so that we could accommodate Nicole. Yeah, everything just seems to be leaning that way, and that would be great. That would be so great.
I can tell you right now that I have had a great time speaking with you this evening. And the funny thing is that I like to consider this very much a car culture podcast.
We
Ask me
didn't
how many
talk about
times,
cars
I
at
swear to
all.
God, no, we didn't talk about cars at all. And the level of fucks that I give about that are very, very low, because sometimes when you can go ahead and have someone that you have a lot in common with, or someone in my perspective, from my perspective, I look up very much up to you because of the things you've been able to accomplish just in the 10 years alone, with everything that you did with Nicole and everything like that. So from that journey in and of itself, knowing how difficult that was, I have so much respect for you. But then on top of that, you're just a genuinely cool ass dude. And this
Thanks.
is like, it's been such a great conversation. So I always ask my
It's
guests
two
this.
authentic people just being real. That's what that's
It's organic going back and forth, and that's what I love about it, and that's what made this conversation as good as it has. And you're so right. So I'll ask you this, because you have so many friends in the car culture scene in California and just maybe nationwide and whatnot. And we've kind of
it
brought it
has,
up
now that we've done the grand tours, it is. We've got people
very
all around
much,
the
right?
country. It's amazing. Yeah. And then
So,
the
so
world too, through the Instagram and good vibes and stuff.
which is awesome. So I
It is.
guess my question to you is, like, what is car culture? Because it's interesting. I always ask this question of what car culture means to every single one of my guests, but car culture has literally put you in a interesting position that you have been able to accomplish all the things that you have. But then in the last year, your friends in the car culture have helped you keep your head above water, figuratively speaking, after Nicole's passing and whatnot.
Yep.
So,
Yep.
from your perspective, I feel like your take on car culture is very, very interesting than most other people. So, I'd like to go ahead and hear it from you.
Yeah, that's a great question. Thank you. I think that, I mean, it's multifaceted, right? Because we are all tied together because of this common bond, this common interest. But really, at the end of the day, what it comes down to is community.
Yeah.
And we're losing that in modern society. We're losing community. The small town vibe is definitely not big in Los Angeles. So somehow the car community makes Los Angeles a small town. Yes, we all have cars that are unique, so you recognize them when they're driving down the street. You know that, oh, that's Jay in yellow car. It's not just some yellow Porsche. But everybody else is the same way, right? So I think really it comes down to community. The common interest, yeah, I don't know. There's a lot of places to find common. There are message boards, Facebook groups. There's a lot of places to talk about things you're into with other people who are into the same things. But somehow cars are out of the house. We all get in them and go somewhere else. And then we're not in our element, and we're bonding over different things. And, there's a phrase that gets used a lot. It's not about the cars, it's about the people.
Mhm.
I mean, it's trite, but it's true. Certainly in my case, it's not about the cars. In fact, I don't even know if I'm a car guy anymore. I love our yellow car because it's, first of all, the perfect car for me and us, but it was always an extension of me, but now it's a personification of my deceased wife. And so I like to get out on these grand tours because the windshield time is like, oh, that's the closest thing I have to the old times. But as much as I enjoy that, I can't wait to pull into the next town where we're going to go to the car show or the thing, and I'm going to meet the people, and we're going to, Oh, what are you into? Oh, in Florida, this is what they do. Oh, this is cool. Wait, you guys don't have laws against modding your car? You can do whatever the heck you want, any exhaust, any suspension, whatever. Yeah. I'm like, holy cow. Uh, it's all the little communities.
Mhm.
It's all the little communities. And I grew up in a small town in Connecticut, and we waved at the cops and the firefighters and the mailman and whatever. Like everybody knew each other. And I always missed that, the 20 years in California before we were in the car community, just driving regular brand new BMW leases or whatever, boring shit. And I really missed it. It felt like, I don't know, you're invisible in a weird way. And small towns, you're not. Everybody knows everybody. Everybody's in everybody's business. You know, there's kind of a weird element to that. So I guess
Sometimes you want to go where everybody knows your name, my friend.
yeah, I grew up with that show. I love that one. Yeah, I would say it's community. For me, that's the most important part because without the community that we've had in Los Angeles, I'm not even sure I'd be here. I'm not a suicidal type. I'm not the type, but the darkness that I went through, both in Nicole's deterioration and progression, and the year after, I just don't know if I would have made it. I think that I wouldn't be suicidal, but I think I would have lost the will to live. And good vibes and the people, you know, people have me on podcasts doing things like this. It gives you something to look forward to. It gives you something to feel good about. And like we were talking about before, when you're sharing, it doesn't matter which one's doing the sharing. We're actually healing both sides.
Yep.
And I think that the community did that for me, continues to do that for me. My oath is that I will continue to do it for the community as long as I'm alive.
Absolutely.
Wherever that is, whether I'm in Los Angeles or Connecticut or wherever, driving around the country, et cetera, et cetera.
Well, and you have this wonderful opportunity to go ahead, and we've brought up Nicole's legacy a couple different times on the podcast tonight, but I think it's really cool to continue that, and I remember when we brought up Jay of Sheffield when you guys did the watches. If I'm not
He's a saint.
I think that all that money went to charity, if I'm not mistaken, which is awesome.
It went to Nicole's autoimmunity foundation,
which is amazing,
yeah.
Right? And so, like,
which
that's a legacy
basically was us, promoting awareness about MS, and
which needs to be, and again, like, if this doesn't serve as a promotion for that, I hope it does, because it's no joke. That disease is absolutely, we all focus on these all types of diseases out there, right, Jay? All different types. My grandmother passed away of breast cancer back in 2015.
Yeah.
There's all kinds of cancers. There's Parkinson's. There's Alzheimer's.
That's what I was going to. It seems to me that these days the autoimmune diseases seem to have taken over. In my generation, it was like cancer and AIDS. And now, like the two things that were like, well, we just don't know. And then now, a little bit more about both of those. They've almost completely eviscerated HIV, thank God. Cancer is still obviously an issue, but autoimmune is still stuff they don't know about. It's kind of this weird area where it's so fuzzy that we're not there yet. And MS specifically is even worse because they have no idea what causes it, no idea, it's actually more of a catch-all. I don't know if you know that. Most people kind of don't. It takes 6 months to a year to get diagnosed with MS because they have to run you through every other possible test to see that you don't have anything else. Right. And then once you don't have anything else, they go, oh, it must be MS. You've got MS. Check that box. And that's frustrating as hell because you don't even know where it came from. You don't know what to fix. You don't know what to stop, what to change. And I don't, that was a big thing for Nicole. She always felt very misunderstood because people were like, oh, but my aunt had it and she started riding her bike and she got better. Or somebody else started eating nuts and raisins and then, it healed her MS. There are no two, they call it the snowflake disease because there are no two cases that are the same, right. Which tells me that we're not looking in the right place. And that was what Nicole wanted to promote and talk about with the Autoimmunity Foundation, was just spread that awareness.
And I think that we need to do that more. And thank God that, again, like, because if memory serves me right, I believe that you guys dealt with it a little after you guys got married. So basically it was a full on decade really that she really had, that she had it, if I'm not mistaken. Is that right?
Yeah. She had it 14 years.
14 years.
We were together almost 15.
Yeah.
Well, I guess we were together 14, 15. We met in 2010. She was diagnosed in 11. And but she was already dealing with stuff. She was already struggling, like there was vision stuff, and a little stumble here with the feet, and you couldn't wear
Yeah.
heels necessarily, things like that.
Right.
But yeah, diagnosed in 11, and then we got married in 13. So like it was very early on. The I'll get emotional again, but the night that she actually got the diagnosis, we came home, not the same apartment, but somewhere else, and sat on the couch, and she broke down and started crying, and I was like, it's okay. Of course, I get it. Let it out. And she's like, no, this, you can leave. You can go. This is your out. You never signed up for this. We were only a year into our relationship. And
Yeah.
we were at the first year where she was really trying to push me away to like test me. And then this happened.
You passed, brother. You passed.
Yeah, I hope so. I sure hope so. People give me, it's weird when you go through something like this because people, including even you, I feel like give me a lot more credit than I deserve. I love my wife. I still love my wife so much that it's ludicrous to me to even think that I would have gone anywhere. But I get so much credit for sticking it out to the end. She's like, oh, most people would have left. And a lot of other people said most people would have left. I don't align with that. Maybe that may be true on paper, but it was never even possible for me. I mean, look how I am without her after all of that time. Like there's no way. When she was young and healthy, there was just no way. She was magic.
That sucks.
So yeah, I love my wife. That's the takeaway. Still love her.
I love it, man. And well, to know her is to love her, and I didn't even know her, but like just from everything that your journey and everything like that. Again,
So
it's
you watched when we would post the bad stuff, like when we couldn't do the show for a bit because she was so
I
bad, but we would
I
post
saw your
the bad
Instagram
days of
post,
her
and
crying and
I
laying on
saw
the
your
floor.
posts, your vulnerability on social media was like I would see it and I would see it, I'd read it. I'm like, man, talk about it. Like I say this, we all talk about all of us having a bad day, and then I read your shit and I'd be like, that was a rough day, and it helps. I think how it allows us, anybody who's quote unquote in a normal setup, it allows us to kind of take that back and put our lives into perspective. We talked about it earlier in the podcast and whatnot. And we talked about, you know, it's all perspective. You really don't know what someone else is going through, and I commend you wanting to go ahead and really take us behind the scenes of, hey, listen, this is shitty, but you and her just kept fighting. You guys kept fighting, and that's where it's like, that's beautiful, man.
She gets the credit there. I didn't. I
But
wasn't
you
there.
were the one that was
Think of the
lifting her
first
up.
time.
Yeah.
Remember the first one with her crying, and I'm like, oh, people don't normally get to see this, and that was before any of the really bad stuff.
Right.
I was so conflicted with posting that. And it was her position. Once we couldn't talk to everybody once or twice a week on the show, sitting
Yeah.
here because she couldn't do it, that she felt like she lost her voice, and she felt like she wasn't being honest isn't the right word, but like she just felt like she was withholding the information.
I get you.
And it was very important to her. And again, this is back to the autoimmunity awareness that we were trying to push at the time. That was her way of doing a couple things. One, showing that when every day is the worst day of your life and tomorrow will be worse and the day after that'll be worse than the day, and she's getting up and continuing to do it, that should inspire other people. And I think she was right. I think it did. And then part of it was, I mean, her position in general was, let's share all of this stuff, because if it helps one person, then my struggle isn't in vain. Nicole's struggle was not in vain, and she needed that.
Right.
But I think really it came down to she was showing her vulnerability and her pain to help others, not to make people feel bad or uncomfortable. And I saw, oh, this is going to make people feel bad and feel uncomfortable. You know what I mean? I was like, this is hard to watch for me. I'm in the room, like, do you really want to? There's no coming back. You can't put the genie back in the bottle. And she was all for it. And I recorded it all. I have stuff that I've never posted. The last video is the last conversation she and I ever had because she couldn't talk the last few days. And I never posted it. And it's the same kind of thing, you know, her on the floor. But it's so brutal. And she's such a shell of a human being. There's not much left. You could tell it was the end. And she wanted to go. She wanted to be gone. And her reasoning was because I deserved to move on. She didn't think that she wanted to see me have another chance at life. And, you know, hers was kind of physically over at that point. So I understand why she was doing that. But I think that it shows how selfless she was, because she didn't want to be here. Not because she was in so much pain or because life is just hell and I just don't want to do it anymore, but because it's not fair to him. I have a hard time with it. I still have a hard time with it. I'll probably never post it because nobody really needs to see it. But I mean, I took pictures and video all the way to the end because it was so important to her to document it all. Maybe it'll be a documentary one day. Maybe that would be a nice way to do it. Maybe that's the answer. It'll be someday we'll tell her story. She was working on a book for years and years and years. And unfortunately, she started working on it too late. You know, it just kind of, she wasn't able to complete it. But again, cracking into her computer, I've got whatever was there. So I'm thinking that at some point we'll tell her story. She deserves it.
He does. And I thank you tonight for your vulnerability. Not just everything that you showed us on social media and how vocal you have been about everything regarding Nicole and you guys' lives over the last few years and whatnot. But then coming on tonight with me, I very much appreciate it, but I also feel like it was the right thing to do because, you know, it's a special relationship that you guys had. And then it also shows the power of how something with, you know, four wheels and shit can go ahead and give you the support system that you have had.
Yeah.
Not just
if
the
we
last.
Didn't buy that car, we wouldn't know any of the people we know today.
Exactly.
That's bizarre to me.
It is. It's really odd. But it just goes to show the power of community. And it's not just the last 13 to 14 months. It also goes back basically for the last several years that you have been doing everything and whatnot, Jay. So from my side, I have nothing but gratitude and just thank you for wanting to go ahead and come on and have a great conversation with me through all the avenues that we went through this evening, you know, because we have, you know, it's okay to sometimes not be okay. And it's also okay to not just always talk about cars. It's also okay for an enthusiast like ourselves to be able to go ahead and piggyback off of stuff that, because we're kind of stuck in the car scene and whatnot, it's nice to go ahead and we take it different places. And I'm so glad that you were able to join me this evening. And I from my perspective, I'm continuing to root for you. Just keep on keeping on, my friend. You are, and Nicole is, a continuing inspiration for a variety of different people. So it's been a real treat, man. Thank you for your time. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much, man. Again, you're very gracious, very kind, very polite. I hope we haven't tormented your audience tonight with the lack of car talk. Like, who's this guy with the rainbow set and the tears? What's his deal?
If they're hating, they're listening to the wrong podcast. I really
appreciate it. And I appreciate your patience and, you know, putting this together. I told you it's hard for me to plan out, you know, deep in advance. So reach out week of when you've got a slot and we'll make it happen. So I'm glad this worked out. I had a blast.
I know how it is.
Anytime.
You have an open seat. You have an open seat anytime.
Please join us when you're in LA and I'm here too. Please join us. Otherwise we can do satellite too, but it's more fun in person.
Oh, 100%. Listen, Lord knows I'll never do Fallon, Kimmel, definitely not Colbert, because obviously, you know, thanks for counseling him, CBS, and Myers and all those guys.
He'll land on his feet. I bet
because he's awesome. That's why he's so brilliant. You can't not have that man on TV. There's no world where Colbert will just get canceled by CBS and then go away into the nothingness. The dude is too
Yeah.
gosh darn talented. So
I was a Letterman guy, so I didn't really watch a whole lot of Colbert, but I was
the way
very
that he took the torch of the Late Show is amazing. It's amazing. He's done an amazing job and made it his own. I personally feel that way.
I'm glad. No, I'm glad to hear that. I didn't know too much about it, but watching the backlash, I said, "Holy crap! He really amassed an army of followers."
Yeah.
I'm a production guy, so I'm like, oh, I don't like how they produce the show versus how they used to. You know what I mean? That's not how we would do it. They pre-tape everything and kind of piece it together. Whereas we literally do a live show. You know what I mean? I'm still doing it the old way. And so I just somehow, when I would watch the show, I was like, I could tell that, oh, the musical segment was another day. Oh, the comedy segment was another day. Like, that's easy. But the way the viewers stood up, I mean, it's not the same situation that happened to Kimmel, but the way everyone came out so upset by it, it showed me, that he really did have quite a following, and I don't think I knew that.
No, it's all good. And you bring
it's nothing against his
no.
We all have or his art.
Yeah, we all have our different taste buds.
It.
We all have our different tastes when it comes to that
kid,
stuff.
These shows weren't political. I hate to agree with Leno there, but like when I was a kid, these shows weren't political. So I kind of like, back to our conversation earlier, I'm like, if you're going to make the whole show about that, you're obviously dividing your audience. Some people are going to love you, some people are going to hate you. But I do think from the clips that I've seen that you're right. He probably played that well. It's so weird too, because he was Nicole used to work with Jon Stewart. So like we know everybody at the Daily Show. In fact, I used to produce their live tour. And it was like the Colbert Report was such a stark opposite to what the Late Show became that it was, I don't know. Maybe I'm going to start watching it. I'm at the last.
He's going to watch the last season.
Super fan. We'll see. I
love it.
Yeah, I'm not above it.
I love it, man. Well,
you're exposing me to new stuff. It's good.
That's what I'm talking about. And you're re-exposing me. Like, I feel like, you know what I'm going to do tonight, Jay? You know what I'm going to do? Or this weekend? I'm watching
watch some old Conan.
Oh, definitely watch some old. In the year 2000. Thank you very much.
Oh my God. So many of those.
So many of those. That was to me his best bit.
So many of those.
So yeah, just good stuff. But Jay,
I don't disagree with you there. That was one that had legs. We hated it the first time. We're like, this is so stupid. And then the audience ate it up. And then they kept doing it like every single week. And La Bamba and the band, okay. I didn't love the talk show element and everything else because it wasn't Letterman, but the band was spectacular. And shy of Max Weinberg, who was a tough nut to crack, everybody else was so awesome. I'm still friends with some of them today. Scott Healy and I can't remember the other guy's name. Dave, the bass player. I can't think of his name. But I still know some of those guys too because they live out in LA now.
Nice.
Such a great band. My God. And La Bamba used to, he would do he was the one who sang the thing.
That's so good. So some of these late night shows had their bands are so good. Like you talk about Max Weinberg, and then I believe Jay Leno. Was it Kevin Sullivan was his band? He was the band leader.
At first it was Branford Marsalis, and then it was Kevin Eubanks.
Kevin Eubanks. I'm sorry, not Kevin Sullivan. Kevin Eubanks. So I would have watched during the Kevin Eubanks times and stuff like that. And now with Jimmy Fallon's got Questlove and the Roots, and which is
Christ, they're
like
fantastic.
How good are they, right?
They can play anything.
Yeah, and then of course you guys have.
I couldn't believe they took that job. I couldn't believe that he got the Roots for late night and then kept him for Tonight Show. I couldn't believe it.
How I thought that wild
was
is that?
Gets of all time. That was like booking Tribe Called Quest as your fucking
dude.
Like they were huge.
It's amazing. Huge at the time. It's amazing. And then obviously James
and Questlove he's a musical genius.
He's a musical genius.
Like it's all up here for him.
Yeah, but then Jimmy Fallon is also such a is a good musician in his own right. That like the way that they collaborate on a lot of their skits together, and when it incorporates the music, is what makes Jimmy Fallon. That to me is when Jimmy Fallon is most in his element and things of that nature, and I think that's what makes him so different to what Jay Leno was, and it's so cool. And then you guys in LA,
Jimmy Fallon's a performer, always has been.
He very much has. I mean, since his time of SNL and everything like that, he very much is. He's a very he's a talented individual.
To Los Angeles the night I decided to move to Los Angeles was May 15th, 1999. And I only know that because I still have the green room ticket stamp in like a scrapbook thing. It was the season finale of Saturday Night Live in the 99 season. And everybody was there. The rap party was at the season finale ones were always big. This one was at the Museum of Modern Art. And you mentioned Jerry before, Seinfeld was there. Every freaking person was there. Sarah Michelle Gellar was the guest and Backstreet Boys were the band. But that didn't matter because it was the season finale. So everybody came out. And they're coming out at 1 a.m, right? The show goes off at 1. It's probably 1:30, 2 o'clock by the time people get out of there and go to the museum. Jimmy Fallon was, you know what? He wasn't. The people at our table were crazy because it was like, you mentioned Home Alone before. What's his name? The kid from Home Alone?
Oh, Macaulay Culkin, of course.
I want to say Crispin Glover, but it's not. Yeah, Macaulay Culkin, right?
Yeah.
Him and his then wife. He had just married that wife. And anyway, the reason I was telling you this is Jimmy Fallon was a kid. It was his first season on the show. And he came over and sneezed all over our pizza so he could eat it. And that was my introduction to Jimmy Fallon.
That's so good.
He came over like, oh, you guys gonna eat that? Oh no, okay, cool. And he took the whole pizza.
That's funny as hell, dude. That's so good. Oh, I love that. And then I was gonna say that you got.
So he was at our table, and Seth Green is the one who told me. He's like, oh, you should. Family Guy had just started the first time before it got canceled twice. Oh, and gotcha. My buddy Steve Kaz, who's Danbury Chive on the show, he came down to the show with me, and we were talking to Seth Green at our table, and he was like, come to LA, you'll get work. I was like, holy shit, okay. And I did. I moved out that summer.
And you had the originality and you had the authenticity to be able to go ahead and make it work. You and Nicole both. And that,
yeah, I guess.
That is so cool.
Thanks, man.
That is, it's my pleasure. And by the way,
it takes a lot of work to get to this level of authenticity. I think when you first move to LA, it's impossible to not become a little LA, right? Because you came here, you go, oh, this is how they do it. And then you become a little, you get the clothes or the thing, or you go out and you're drinking, whatever it is, you kind of become whatever.
Well, you have to find your niche in order to get seen, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, or it seems that way. You think you do. Or I did, and it seemed like a lot of other people did. And then you kind of almost have to go through that to lose it, to then get back to who you really are.
Yeah.
Which is the goal. Get back to who you really are.
And everything comes
and then be that
full
all
circle.
The time, unabashedly.
Until the end of time. Like,
yeah.
People say don't change who you are. Yeah, they say don't change who you are. Yeah. I think that we all go through a journey within ourselves. And then once we completed it, we realize, oh, I'm me again. And I know that I've done well. That, you know what I'm saying?
I knew this person, but I've done all that dark work, that shadow work. Yes.
To get back to where I was, to where I needed to be in order to be successful. God,
some of us have generational curses we're breaking, you know, it's all of that stuff.
Yeah.
And then once you get back to who you really are, you can't do anything but that for the rest of your life. It's like, take it or leave it. This is what it is.
That's so good.
I'm not for everybody. I'm okay with that.
I love it. Jay, you've been amazing, brother.
You're a great dude.
Thank you, man. It means a lot. I appreciate you. For those who are listening in or watching, if you're already not familiar with Jay, please go ahead and check him out on Instagram. It's Porsche Life 3 1s, right? Porsche Life 111.
Just like the car. Ryan. Yeah, 111.
Just like the car. Just like the car. And of course, you can go ahead and follow the Late Night Playset on both Instagram and follow it on YouTube and on Spotify and Apple and everything like that.
Wherever you podcast.
Yep.
It's video on YouTube, Spotify, and Facebook, but it's still a podcast platform if you prefer to listen. So wherever you'd like to get it.
Perfect. And then for any movie lovers out there,
obviously we do a visual medium, so it's better with video.
Hell, you need to. That's the thing. You have to get the vibe. If you want to go ahead and get the vibe, you need to watch the thing. And plus, you get a chance to go ahead and see Jay's beautiful face. I'd love to see it. And then, of course, you've got the other. I got you, brother. And then, of course, you've got your other podcasts where if you're interested in movies.
Blockbuster Year. Please,
yes,
follow that as well.
1985, man. Yep. That's a hell of a year.
Facebook, Instagram.
Okay, can I make a plea? If you move into 1986 and you do Ferris Bueller, can I just invite myself to be on that show?
Sure.
Okay,
Absolutely.
we're making it happen. Whatever that season is, you let me
I don't
know.
know
I'll
if it's
be
going to be linear. We've talked about what years to move to. I think 89 is a contender, 82 is a contender,
89.
86 could
I'm
be.
an 89 kid. I was born in October of 89. There's some good
So
stuff
you
that
could do
happened
any
then.
of those.
Yes, I can. Yes, I can. Shout out to Lethal Weapon 2. Let's go. That's a great
It's a good
movie.
one.
It's a good one. Mel
Ghostbusters 2,
Gibson.
same year.
Yeah, Back to the Future Part 2, 1989 as well.
Back to the
There's so
Future
many,
Part 2, a lot of Part 2. Yeah.
so a lot of part twos, but it's been a real treat, man. Again, late night playset, all that, and of course, Porsche Life 111. And thank you for your time. And of course, everybody that's listening and or watching, you guys can go ahead and subscribe to the Tormenting Tarmac YouTube page. Follow us on Instagram at Tormenting Tarmac. Subscribe to our podcast and leave a comment, rate it, subscribe, all that good stuff. Spotify, Apple Podcasts, everywhere. And I'll leave it at this. And you said it, and your wife's quote, "We're all just walking each other home." And that's. I can't think of a better way to end this podcast. So remember that, everybody. That's Jay Ryan, and my name is Jorge Aquino, and you have all been listening to Tormenting Tarmac, and it's the podcast where the enthusiast never dies. Good night, everybody. As I can go ahead and find the stop button. There we go. Good night.
Thank you so